Nice.
Hello to the few people in the room. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Good evening. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Nevada City Council to order. Today is Wednesday, November 8th, 2023, and it is 6:30 p.m. We're getting started. Thank you all for being here. It's a couple more people than we usually have in the room. We're going to start the evening with our Nisenan tribal recognition. We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition. I'm going to ask that my colleague Lou Cece lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Madam, I want to note that, do we have a video here?
Keith is on.
Keith is on. He's just away from
And
his
what,
video.
this TV behind you that's usually on for us, is that available? I would like to note that Keith Collins from the City Attorney's Office is joining us by Zoom. And Madam Deputy Clerk, once you get that up and going, I'm going to ask for a roll call, please.
There it goes. Councilmember Cece,
Here.
Councilmember Klein,
Here.
Councilmember Fleming, here. Vice Mayor Peterson, here. And Mayor Fernandez.
Very much here, thank you. All right, next is adoption of the agenda. Council, now is the time for any agenda modifications. Would anyone like to make any changes to the agenda, pull consent items, or do we have any recusals to announce? All right, I'm hearing nothing, so I'm looking for a motion and a second to adopt the agenda.
I move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Great, we have a motion by Councilmember Klein and a second by Councilmember Fleming. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'm hearing no opposition, so the motion carries. All right, moving right along. We're going to start the evening with a few presentations, as we sometimes do. First and foremost, we have a proclamation for Nisenan Heritage Month, and I would like to invite my friend and colleague to the podium with me, Shelley Covert, and any other Nisenan representatives that would like to join you. Hello, friend. Hi. Let me see if I can make this work. All right. This is a proclamation honoring Native American Heritage Month and Nisenan Heritage Day and Month. Whereas, during November, the City of Nevada City recognizes two separate yet inextricably intertwined celebrations. The month of November is National Native American Heritage Month, and the 2023 occurrence is celebrating tribal sovereignty and identity. November is also Nisenan Heritage Month, and November 4th, 2023 is Nisenan Heritage Day. You had a wonderful day at Sierra College last weekend, and the theme was Changing Perspectives. And whereas during National Native American Heritage Month and Nisenan Heritage Month, the city recognizes the invaluable contributions of Native peoples and their tribal governments that have shaped our city, country, region, and county, and honor the hundreds of tribal nations which continue exercising their inherent sovereignty as vital members of the overlapping system of governments in the United States. And whereas the city also recognizes that many tribal governments had their federal recognition illegally terminated, and the city reaffirms its commitment to support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in its effort to restore its federal recognition. And whereas the city calls upon the United States Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland, and our Congressman and Honorable Kevin Kiley, to advance the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe's federal recognition in partnership with the commitment of President Joseph Biden, who, in his National Native American Heritage Month proclamation for 2023, stated, "We also commit to supporting tribal sovereignty, upholding the federal government's solemn trust and treaty responsibilities, and working in partnership with tribal nations to advance prosperity, dignity, and safety for all Native peoples." And whereas it is not enough to simply recognize the genocide of the Nisenan people, which occurred as direct impact of the development of the city of Nevada City, the city and many of our businesses, nonprofits, and other government bodies provide a land acknowledgement at the beginning of meetings. These words must be more than spoken, they must be acted upon. And whereas the City Council of the City of Nevada City has, in City Council Resolution 2020-72 on September 23, 2020, pledged support to the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe to preserve and protect the tribe and its members' native culture and acknowledging the ancestral Nisenan lands. Specifically, the City Council resolved to do the following things. One, we acknowledge the continued existence of our oldest Nevada County residents and citizens, the Nisenan people. And number two, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in their effort to restore their federal recognition. Three, we support the restoration of the tribe's federal status and all rights that come with it. Four, we support the tribe's request to have lands within Nevada County taken into trust. 5, we support the tribe's inherent rights to self-governance. 6, we recommend that the U.S. Congress enact legislation to restore federal recognition to the Nevada City Rancheria. 7, we recommend that the state of California adopt a joint state resolution in support of the restoration of federal recognition of the Nevada City Rancheria. And 8, we recommend our local Nevada County Board of Supervisors adopt a resolution in support of restoration of the federal recognition of the Nevada City Rancheria. Whereas the City Council has included the Nevada City Rancheria tribe as its embedded strategic initiative within its 2022 through 2027 strategic plan, committing to support for and collaboration with the tribe in all decision-making and goal setting. And whereas the city is honored to be the first government entity to participate in the California Heritage Indigenous Research Project Ancestral Homelands Reciprocity Program through direct financial support. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Nevada City does hereby recognize November 2023 as National Native American Heritage Month and Nisenan Heritage Month, and recognize November 4th, 2023 as Nisenan Heritage Day. Thank you. And I'm just going to say a couple words because this is such legalese and it's all important and very wonderful and names things that this body both supports and has moved towards. And I want to say that it's been an honor to work in collaboration with you from government to government in a government to government relationship. And I want to say that as you begin to gain more visibility and you begin to move closer to that self-sovereignty, there are going to be obstacles in the form of people who want to tear us down, tear you down. And I want to say that I'm here today. I will always support you and believe in your capacity to self-govern. And I'm actually just going to shut up and give you.
Awesome. Thank you so very, very much. I know that was long, but there's, like you said, there's so much verbiage embedded within this proclamation that is incredibly important. And I wish we just had a magic wand and could just be like, bing, like, why do we have to keep fighting about this? Can't it just be and we be restored? It's also silly. Yes, and it's starting to happen already. I suppose I have a little bit of the little red hen syndrome where I'm like, oh, sure, people show up now. There's plenty of work to go around, folks. The door's always open. But, I'm squishy, so those things flame me hard. And so it's good to hear that. Somebody said to me, oh, if people are starting to not like you, you guys must be having some level of success. And I'm like, why though? It makes me mad. The other thing I just want to say is it's so great to have my aunties and my cousins here. You guys know it's always just me. No judgment. No. It's my job. It's my responsibility. And it's an honor and a deep sorrow to be in the position that I'm in all the time. I'm getting old. I wish the work could just be done. But I know when we each take a little piece of it, it's less heavy. And it's so important. I'm so happy you guys can actually see they're real. Sometimes I feel like I have to have a disclaimer, like I swear there's actually a whole tribe. I know it's just me, but so here's a little smidgening of them tonight, which feels really amazing for you guys to hear this stuff that I tend to hear a lot in the work I do. So thank you so very, very much. Do we take this?
Absolutely. That belongs to you.
All right.
Okay, so next we have a proclamation for the ribbon cutting for our new store, Winnie Superette. And I'm going to invite owner Ann Hahn to the podium and also my colleague Adam Klein to join her in the proclamation.
If you guys like the word whereas, buckle up. Whereas business initiation, development, growth, and expansion are important threads that bind strong communities, and Winnie Superette is open for business at 315 Commercial Street. And whereas Winnie Superette is a small, modern Asian market offering curated beverages, snacks, groceries, and homewares, they also feature local produce, to-go food, and baked goods. They're stocked with hard-to-find nostalgic favorites and new specialty goods by mostly AAPI brands. And whereas Winnie Superette is new as a business but continues the long tradition of a retail presence at the location in historic downtown. And whereas Ann Hahn is the owner of Winnie Superette. And whereas Ann notes that the idea to open an Asian market grew from my own need of wanting to find ingredients to make Korean food during lockdown, which is when I moved to Nevada City from LA. My goal is to cultivate a local community of Asian food lovers. We welcome anyone who appreciates learning about Asian cuisine and trying new flavors. And whereas a grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony will be held at Winnie Superette this Saturday, November 11th, 2023 at 12 p.m., that's noon. Whereas the grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony will be an opportunity for the city, community, visitors, and other businesses to visit and enjoy Winnie Superette. And whereas the City Council and the City of Nevada City wish to recognize and applaud businesses as investors in our community, now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Nevada City does hereby honor the opening of Winnie Superette and urges those who visit, live, work, and play in Nevada City to eat and shop local by patronizing Winnie Superette and all of our Nevada City businesses, or by attending the grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony on November 11th, 2023.
Thank you. That's all very true. Thank you to the city, Chamber of Commerce. I was very new to small town life when I moved up here, and I really appreciate it as a small business owner, seeing how invested people are in the success of local businesses and other small business owners who are so generous with their time and advice. Just means a lot to me. So thank you.
Before we move on, for folks in the back, for anyone needing to sit, there are like at least three seats up front for those who might need that. And I know there are a lot of folks, which we absolutely love. If just a fraction of you are speaking, it's hard to hear. So I'm just going to ask you to please be mindful of that. Next, we're moving on to a proclamation for Sierra Mobile Glass ribbon cutting. Diana Hartley, are you here? I am. Yay, come on up.
He's my emotional support.
Your emotional support human.
I'm Don. Nice to meet you.
I need an emotional support human. So this is a proclamation honoring the grand opening and ribbon cutting of Sierra Mobile Glass. Whereas business initiation, development, growth, and expansion are important threads that bind strong communities, and Sierra Mobile Glass is open for business at 208 Goldflat Court. And whereas Sierra Mobile Glass is new as business, but continues the long tradition of a service presence at the location in New Mohawk Light Industrial Area. And whereas Diana Hartley is owner of Sierra Mobile Glass, and whereas Diana notes that we moved to Nevada County in December of 2021. We wanted to contribute our skills in the automotive repair industry, which our background is in. We chose Nevada City as we love the feel of the community. We at Sierra Mobile Glass emphasize on giving back to this wonderful community that has welcomed us. We strive to donate one windshield per month to a nominated community member in need as our way of giving back. That's awesome. And whereas a grand opening and ribbon cutting, mark your calendars, ceremony will be held at Sierra Mobile Glass on Saturday, November 15th, 2023 at 4 p.m. And whereas the grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony will be an opportunity for the city, community, visitors, and other businesses to visit and enjoy Sierra Mobile Glass. And whereas the City Council and the City of Nevada City wish to recognize and applaud businesses as investors in our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Nevada City does hereby honor the opening of Sierra Mobile Glass and urges those who visit, live, work, and play in Nevada City to seek services and shop local by patronizing Sierra Mobile Glass and all of our Nevada City businesses, or by attending the grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony on November 15th, 2023. I have a crack in my windshield. I'll be visiting you soon.
Say thank you. I'm a former military wife, and I've lived in 8 states, and this by far is the best city I've ever lived in. So, and as far as giving away, this month we're going to be donating a windshield to a veteran. If anybody knows a veteran in need, you can nominate them on our website. So, but thank you guys.
I just want to confirm too, we have on there that it says Saturday the 15th, but it's Wednesday the 15th. Okay, just to be clear, folks. Wednesday the 15th at 4 p.m. Thank you, Gary Peterson. And one more proclamation. Is Shannon Bueller here? Eric Alder. Eric Alder, all right, come on up for Nevada County Toy Run 2023. All right, Nevada County Food and Toy Run Day 2023. Whereas the Nevada County Food and Toy Run Day celebrates its 32nd year of bringing motorcyclists to the Gold Country on Saturday, November 9th, 2023, and whereas December 9th, whew, all right, lots of words tonight. Whereas the Nevada County Food and Toy Run is a community event benefiting Head Start and local families in need. This year's event will be making sure 400 families have Christmas with food and toys. And whereas on that day, we'll see 1,500 to 2,000 participants on motorcycles being escorted from the Eric Rood Administration Building at the Government Center through Nevada City, Grass Valley, and ending at the Nevada County Fairgrounds, with thousands of spectators lining the routes, with a continual stream of motorcycles for over 45 minutes. Let's hope for clear weather that day, huh? And whereas the Nevada County Food and Toy Run was the first toy run to have the families there so that the motorcyclists could watch their toys being picked up by the children. And whereas the Nevada County Food and Toy Run has gained the trust and support of the City of Nevada City and the County of Nevada and all branches of local law enforcement as they join in cooperation with the Toy Run organizers to make this a well-executed event. And whereas, since its inception in 1991, the Nevada County Food and Toy Run has gained the reputation as the safest toy run in Northern California and one that has never been postponed or canceled. And whereas the Nevada County Food and Toy Run Board of Directors, Eric Oliver, CEO, Chelsea, thank you so much, Bueller, CFO, and Shannon Bueller, Vice President, in collaboration with Interfaith Food Ministries, the Nevada County Food Bank, and Head Start, working together with many local stores and volunteers, will make many families' holidays brighter by having this wonderful annual event. We thank them for their efforts and their dedication to our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Nevada City, California, hereby proclaims Saturday, December 9th, 2023, as Nevada County Food and Toy Run Day. Be it further resolved that the entire community is encouraged to ride a motorcycle. That's cute. I was just about to put mine away for the season. Or grab a chair and find a favorite viewing area and line the streets of Nevada City as the motorcycles begin to ride to show support for this event.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank the city for your continued support with this event. As you know, it's been going on for a long time, and with your support, it makes it a lot easier. The city of Nevada City in particular has been the easiest of everywhere to work with as far as this event goes. We've been able to help almost 600 families each year. Almost 1,500 kids go home with 3 to 5 presents each and a Christmas dinner. The Nevada City Police Department's been great through all of this. We're hoping for a bigger event this year with the local businesses' support. We're trying to go with more families, move on to helping families further than just the holidays, trying to do backpacks and shoes at back to school time, and just keep growing this program bigger and bigger. And just want to thank you again for your support.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, we've got about 7 more proclamations. Just kidding. We're moving on to public comment. Government Code Section 54954.3 provides that any member of the public may address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on the consent calendar and each agenda item at the time it is heard. Is there any public comment in the room on items not on the agenda? We invite you up to the microphone. Please tell us your name, where you live, and what you have to say. You've got 3 minutes.
My name is Josh. I live in Nevada City. I've lived here almost my whole life. My grandmother lives here. My parents live here. And I'm here today on behalf of the Nevada County Coalition for Human Rights because as we speak, in Gaza, there are children dying. The death count since October 7th is over 10,000. Of that, over 40% are children. That is some 4,500 children which have been killed since October 7th, along with 1,400 Israelis which have been killed in needless bloodshed. I'm here today because As a good conscious person, I have to take a stand where I see our government is abetting and willing a genocide of the Palestinian people. I'm here today because our city has a history of genocide. It has a history of colonialism. That's how our town was built. And if our town wants to move past that and wants to get past our history of genocide and colonialism, then we have to take a stand, not just here, but in every nation across the earth where people are dying from colonialism, from imperialism, and from the forces which have caused a genocide here prior to this. I am here to request that on the next city council meeting, the city adds a resolution to the agenda. That resolution being to condemn all violence against civilians, to stand against all genocide, to join the international call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, and to join the call for an immediate end to U.S. military aid to Israel, and to protect our Arabic and our Jewish communities against hate that has arisen in this last month. I've lived in Nevada City almost my whole life, and I hope that you all, if you are truly a progressive city, then you will take a stand against genocide, because we can't stand idly by. We can't go about our lives normally. We may not see the genocide unfolding before our eyes, but it's happening. People are dying as we speak. In these 3 minutes, there are people being forced out of their homes in a scale similar only to the Nakba of 1948. If we don't take a stand, then what are we doing? I'm asking that for the next agenda, for the next city council meeting, you add that as a resolution to go and condemn and stand against this genocide.
Thank you, Judge.
Hi, my name's Rory Gotham. I live in the Seven Hills District. You might recall I spoke to you in September and again in October about my neighborhood. With due respect, the Perseverance Mine Court neighbors are asking the City Council to allow the drop-dead time limit be moved out a minimum of 1 year in order to review together the process for termination or modification of the 30-year-old covenants, conditions, and restrictions. Most important is the equity limitation on resale listed in the CC&Rs and the related agreement and deed restriction document. The date in question stands as December 31st, 2023. Without your granting a deadline extension, the neighborhood will be waiting another 10 years before having an opportunity for productive conversation. As you know, this neighborhood originally was built in 1993 as a low-income housing project. Researching HUD low-income project, it appears the termination of CC&Rs and deed restrictions usually end at 20 to 30 to 45 years. I approached the city's planning department several times over the last 5 years, and up until this year had not received the courtesy of an audience or a response or even an acknowledgement of the request to understand how to work with the city on discussing this outdated arrangement. But thank you, Sean Grayson, for your response made in this last spring. Apparently, other homeowners have approached the city, but nothing has changed. The results, however, appear that the city's position remains closed to having a meaningful conversation. We would like to change that, knowing that success is best meant when there's ability to adapt to current conditions, whether it be in nature, in business, or in governing. We are asking that the city show a willingness to adapt to current conditions in this neighborhood of 13 properties. I would dare to believe that back in 1993, the limitations might have appeared to be appropriate for the times, but are they pertinent now? The City Council is in a position to review the importance of working with the people impacted and not just adhere to any paperwork that might be better stated. An original purpose of this particular low-income housing project is not being fulfilled any longer, since there are now 7 of the 13 dwellings that are rentals at very high current market rent levels, which is not affordable for low-income families. Rental properties change the attitude in the neighborhood versus when there is pride of homeownership. To repeat, please let us know if you're willing to agree to move out the December 31st deadline for at least 1 year and allow for more time to work together to determine the relevance to the documents in question. Thank you. and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Jerry.
Hello, my name is Itira O'Connell. I live in Grass Valley, and I'm here to request that you put on the agenda for discussion the issue of the ceasefire in Gaza, that we would like to see our cities and our Congress vote against this carpet bombing that's going on for innocent children getting blown up in Gaza, along with a lot of other people. Anyway, we would like to have that put on the agenda. If you all would do that, that would be really great. That's my request, to put on the agenda the ceasefire in the Middle East. Thank you.
Thanks, Itira.
Hello, my name is Evans Phelps. I sat behind that table for 16 years as a planning commissioner and a city council member. I know how tedious and unappreciated your job is, and I just want to thank you guys for doing the service that you do. I am here today to applaud the acknowledgement that you have given to the Nisenan and the recognition that you have given them for the genocide that we have done to them, and this genocide continues. Today, I will hope that you will put this on your agenda, have a resolution to, for however you guys want to word it, for a ceasefire, to stop the genocide, to stop the killing of all these people over in Palestine, innocent people. I also want you to listen to people like my grandson, Josh Thiem. They are the future. They are the future leaders of our country. These young people are passionate. They are patriotic. They are peace-minded. They are the ones who are inheriting the planet that we, our generation, have not properly taken care of. And so I'm going to stop talking. There's too many people, and hopefully you guys can take this subject up. Thank you very much.
My name is Yasmin Bachemaya, and I am a member of the Nevada County for Human Rights in Palestine organization. I am queer, mixed race, immigrant, and I am a parent. I live in Grass Valley, but I am deeply invested in the well-being of Nevada City. I work here, I organize here, and I support local businesses here. What I do know in this small mountain town is that our community is finding our big heart. As we gather here tonight, although with different purposes and causes, what is clear is that local mobilization can turn the tide toward positive change. Community voices matter. And standing up for justice and humanity matters. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. Although many of us have the privilege of turning away to what does not impact us directly, the genocide certainly affects us. American tax dollars are being used to fund the Israeli military, and we have a moral obligation to condemn this senseless violence. I personally have witnessed countless heart-wrenching videos of Palestinian people, children, men bombed into pieces, children who look like my own. People of conscience in our community and around the world are speaking out during this genocide. We hope Nevada City will join cities like Richmond in California that have passed pro-human rights resolutions supporting the Palestinian people. Like 9/11, we are seeing hate crimes rise again, fueled by textbook racist rhetoric that threatens to divide us as a community. What we need is unity here. And I know all too well that our mountain town is not immune to such racist aggression. While Nevada County is majority white, Nevada City has always been home to underrepresented communities. Brown, indigenous, black, Arabic, queer, and Jewish people understand our struggles are connected, and our voices ring in solidarity. We humbly ask the City Council to pass a resolution that we stand united against genocide. We condemn violence against all civilians, and we protect our Arabic and Jewish communities from hate. We call for an immediate end to the occupation, and we call for a ceasefire. We also urge the Council to support ending U.S. military aid that enables these assaults on Gaza to continue. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and shalom, and hello to everybody here. It's nice to meet all of you. My name is Yusuf Hafiz, and I'm an Egyptian-Palestinian member of this wonderful community. I'm here in cooperation with my friends at Nevada County for Human Rights in Palestine. My mission today is to give the Arab perspective on why we as a community should make an immediate declaration of solidarity with Palestine and her people. I acknowledge that this may be a sensitive subject, but I feel like it is necessary. I feel like it is a necessary one to discuss. I assume many people here do not know the history of Palestine, so I'll spare the history lesson and instead tell the story of my great-grandmother. She was at the very famous massacre of Deir Yassin in 1948, the year of Israel's establishment and the year of the Nakba, or the catastrophe in Arabic. Her house was burned down by Zionist colonizers and all of her children murdered except for one, which is my grandma. She was exiled from Palestine. Before she died, the scenes she described to me were horrific. She told me all of her friends died and her house was burned down, and she never got to return home up until she died. She had to walk across all of Palestine to Egypt, into the Sinai, and walked across 300 miles of desert to get where she had family in Egypt. At best, this was ethnic cleansing, and at worst, it was genocide. This was the case for almost 800,000 Palestinians in 1948, and right now, it's the case for 2.3 million people living in Gaza, 1.1 of whom being children, some of whom are family to me. And right now, as citizens of the United States and members of this community, the #1 enabler of this genocide, every tax dollar, every vote that we give to our government at the local, state, and national level is contributing to the death of a Palestinian child. If we as a community don't take a stand, speak up against this genocide, then who will? Change starts with small communities like us, and that change will save tens of thousands of lives. I respectfully request that this is a resolution calling for the immediate ceasefire and condemnation of violence against civilians, including acts of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and the ending of U.S. military aid, be placed on the next agenda for the next council meeting. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Oceani. I am a Nevada City resident, a property owner, a tax-paying citizen here. I work in the city. I spend money here in the city. I'm here before you all to support the demands for our city council to stand against genocide. I'm here before you as a Jewish American. My grandmother, Sigrid Edith da Costa Andrade, was a Holocaust survivor, taken into the camps at the age of 13. She was one of Joseph Mengelé's prodigy children, one that he tortured and experimented on for nearly 5 years. My grandfather, Henning Hansmann, fought in the French resistance, and he lost his entire family in the process. My family's history and roots were torn apart, shattered, and left in pieces. The ancestral trauma that has been passed down has been detrimental, and I can only begin to put into words the effect it has had. With that said, I do not condone the apartheid state of Israel, and neither would my grandparents. For nearly 80 years, the past 3 generations of Palestinians have had to withstand the tyrannical and repressive occupation of Israeli forces in their homelands. I will not accept my tax dollars funding the world's 4th largest military-industrial complex in Israel as it attempts to rationalize the indiscriminate slaughter of an entire nation. I will not turn a blind eye to the fact that my hard-earned money is being used to support the systematic oppression and active genocide of any peoples. I respectfully request that this resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire, condemnation of violence against civilians, and ending of U.S. military and aid be placed on the agenda for the next council meeting. May we all stand united against genocide.
Well, what on earth have you people done tonight? You've got quite an ensemble. It's usually me and them and Dan over here. But anyhow, what I want to comment about is to remind people that my opinion about this whole Palestinian war conflict is victory Russia. Okay, because I don't think that the Nevada City Council is the place to be airing national and world views, number one. But since we're talking about it, I want to remind people that genocide, while I'm against genocide, everyone's against genocide, but it doesn't have a skin tone, and it does not have a class background. My people in France were victims of genocide. They had the heads chopped off, and quite frankly, one of my great uncles was murdered with a shovel by an angry peasant. My people in Russia were also victims of genocide, and had to run for the border. And the people who were lucky enough to make it, had calluses on their hands from, for what reason? But just luck, basically. But I want to remind people that very often it seems that, we think of things with regard to genocide as, certain groups and certain people, and it's not. I want to remind people that Laplanders are in fact a endangered indigenous group. Okay, it's not about whether you're dark-skinned. People who are blonde are very often bullied, especially these days, because it's like, when people think of social justice, they think, okay, well, it's fine for people who are darker to bully people who are fair because of what they did 70 years ago. And when right is right, and we can't be moved by the past in our way in which we live in the present. And I think, there is a lot of times when America sides with Israel, when unjustly, because they probably have a guilty conscience from World War II. So with that in mind, I have to say that I was nearly stabbed in the heart with these anti-imperialist comments. All of you know where I stand. I'm here to support monarchism and imperialism and maybe not colonialism except in India. But anyway, those are my comments for this evening, and enjoy all this mess. Good evening.
Thank you, Andre.
I stand before you as a new citizen of Nevada County and a descendant of the Biafran genocide of the Igbo people of Nigeria, West Africa, which the apartheid state of Israel backed by supplying weapons to eradicate my people. I request that you put a ceasefire on your next agenda, as I refuse to be a spectator to the genocide happening in Palestine. Before learning about the Palestinian struggle for their land, you all insisted this was a conflict, but Zionists have obfuscated the truth. This genocide didn't start on October 7th. It started 75 years ago when Israel began its Western-backed colonial project in the Middle East. This is not a religious war. I grew up around Muslims, so I know they wash their hands before every prayer. Cleanliness is important. So when I watched a Palestinian mother who had just lost all 3 of her children say she couldn't wash her hands, because she needed to keep her children close. It unraveled something in me. Yesterday, I woke up to see a press conference held by children in Gaza begging that we protect them. A few days before that, a Palestinian child, who was also the only surviving member of his family, died in his sleep hugging himself. But Palestinian children aren't the only reason why we should demand a ceasefire. Palestinian children need their elders, men, women, and LGBTQIA people to raise them. We do not want Palestinian refugees in the West. We want them on their land. We want them in their homes. We want Palestinian children to grow old. I cannot watch another Palestinian mother bury her dead child. You can't recognize the genocide of Nisenan people and acknowledge their right to self-governance and deny Palestinians the right to their land and self-governance. Over 10 Palestinians have been killed, and we call for a ceasefire now.
I'm Magdala Mascal. I grew up in Grass Valley and returned here 3 years ago. And I'm complicit in the war on Gaza as a U.S. citizen and taxpayer. We all are. This is exactly the place to be talking about global issues. We cannot act locally with integrity if we are not connected to the way our power and dominance manifest globally. We cannot say we believe in indigenous freedom and repair and support Israel's near century-long occupation of Palestine. Earlier this evening, we proclaimed solidarity with the Nisenan people and acknowledged their near-complete genocide. I wholeheartedly support this and wonder why there is confusion about the fact that solidarity ought to extend to people globally who are facing genocide with full support of the U.S. federal government. Separation of these struggles is a dangerous cognitive dissonance that I will remember forever. 2023 was the deadliest year for Palestinians even before the heightened violence beginning this October. Since then, Israel has dropped 11,000 bombs on Gaza. That in itself is reported by the Israelis and is cumulatively more powerful than Hiroshima. The trauma is unimaginable to many of us. They have done this while keeping thousands of Palestinian political prisoners and handing out US-backed weapons to settlers to terrorize Palestinians and remove them from their homes in the occupied West Bank. We must pressure the federal government to end their support of the apartheid regime. I respectfully request that a resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire and condemnation of the violence against civilians and ending of US military aid be placed on the agenda for the next council meeting.
Hello, City Council. My name is Ian. I'm 19, and I've lived near Nevada City for over 6 years. I'm grateful to be here today alongside brave and passionate members of my community who have spoken so eloquently about their personal connections to the ongoing struggle in Palestine. Thousands of miles from the heart of the struggle, we recognize that all liberation movements worldwide are intersectional and interconnected. I want to take a moment to focus on a couple intersections of the Palestinian struggle that are personal to me. As a gay trans person, I'm lucky to live in a town where I can publicly express and even celebrate my queer identity. I'm proud that my beloved Nevada City held its first Pride Festival earlier this year, and I love seeing rainbow flags lining the streets I walk with my friends. My heart aches for my queer siblings in occupied Palestine who don't get to enjoy the same freedom. Gay and trans people have long existed in Palestine, but even before they were trying to survive an unrelenting hail of bombs, they were being targeted by Israel. Israeli intelligence officers have been known to catfish gay Palestinians on apps like Grindr and then threaten to out them unless they cooperate with the Israeli military, viciously infringing upon the Palestinian queer community's right to safety and autonomy. Israel tries to sell itself as a democratic, pro-LGBT safe haven in the Middle East in order to obscure the brutality of the regime, but its willingness to manipulate and endanger queer Palestinians proves that the Israeli state is not and will never be our ally. As a gay trans person, I know that none of us are free until all of us are free. So in order to affirm its support of the queer community, Nevada City must reject Israel's pinkwash narrative and condemn the illegal Israeli occupation that terrorizes our siblings in Palestine. As a climate activist, I'm glad to live in this community because so many citizens of Nevada City and surrounding areas care deeply about preserving and nurturing our environment. By extension, we vehemently oppose the Israeli military's campaign of total annihilation that is destroying Palestinian land and contaminating waterways. We know that war is humankind's most environmentally destructive, energy-consuming, toxic, polluting endeavor, and that the U.S. and Israel are actively sacrificing our climate future to further imperial interests, namely the total ethnic cleansing of Palestine and subsequent extraction of its oil. We cannot allow this. Today, Nevada City has the opportunity to stand in proud solidarity with the global causes of decolonization, environmentalism, and queer liberation, and we must take it. We must resolve to stand united against genocide. We must support an immediate ceasefire and an end of U.S. military aid to the occupying Israeli forces. I urge the Council to add to the agenda for your next meeting a resolution which reflects our community's unwavering commitment to the people of Palestine as they resist this brutal occupation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ian.
Hello, my name is Jax. I'm born and raised in Nevada City and a current resident as well. And I am also in support of the resolution. Mira Haas, an Israeli journalist, recently reported that in a few days, Israelis went through what Palestinians have experienced as a matter of routine for decades and are still experiencing. Military incursions, deaths, cruelty, slain children, bodies piled up in the road, siege, fear, anxiety over loved ones, captivity being targets of vengeance, indiscriminate lethal fire at both those involved in the fighting, soldiers, and the uninvolved civilians, a position of inferiority. There is no, and then Gabor Mate reported, there is no post-traumatic stress disorder in Palestine because the trauma is never post. So, and I am also in support of a resolution and hope that you'll put it on the next agenda. Thank you.
Hello, folks, and I'm glad that I can be here. I'm a veteran, 85 years of age now. I'm a member of Veterans for Peace. I served in the Vietnam area years, saw the futility of that situation, numbers of lost lives, men, women, children. I'm totally opposed to the death of more children, more innocent civilians. We need to have an immediate, cessation, so that peace can reign in this world. I'm also would like to honor an ex-president of the United States, Jimmy Carter, who was very familiar with the situation during the years he was in the presidency. Many times was visiting Palestine and Israel, trying to work towards that situation, towards some solution. He a number of years ago wrote a book called Palestine, Peace or Apartheid. He got a lot of criticism for that, but he recognized the apartheid that was going on. There must be an end to that occupation, and thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Rana. I'm Jordanian, born and raised in Jordan, moved to Nevada City 10 years ago. I made a beautiful family in this amazing county, and I'm here because I experienced freedom in this country. I came here for my voice to be heard. I born and raised with this conflict. It's ingrained inside our body to know how much the Palestinian people really suffered their occupation. Everybody and they need to live in freedom of voice, freedom of having the minimum to live. So I'm here just asking for everybody, for this county that hugged me super warm as a Jordanian, moved to this county 10 years ago, become an American. I ask for ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to offer public comment on an item not on the agenda?
Thank you, guys.
So before we move on with business as usual, I also want to thank all of you for coming out to speak truth to power. If there's one thing that I've advocated for the most in my last 3+ years up here, it's encouraging folks to show up and participate in this process with me so that we can resemble a more inclusive democracy. And that has happened tonight. Thank you so much for that. I would like to remind folks that by law, we are not able to respond to public comment of things that are not on the agenda tonight. And we are not able to take actions on non-agenda items this evening. With that being said, I would like to say a few words personally. And because there is so much pain and history and trauma on this, I'm going to do my best to speak from my heart and to speak my truth, although I know nothing I say here tonight will be enough to stop the violence. I can say confidently that I personally, as a resident of Nevada City, not as the mayor, but as a resident of Nevada City, Daniela Fernandez, I firmly stand against all forms of hate, bigotry, and oppression, including Islamophobia and anti-Semitism. I do not support vengeance or the taking of innocent lives. I believe that Jewish safety and Palestinian freedom are not opposing causes. I also believe in collective liberation and the freedom of all peoples, and that means freedom from poverty, freedom from enslavement, freedom from apartheid, and freedom from genocide. I personally, as a resident of Nevada City, support a ceasefire as a way to save civilian lives, release all hostages, and end the perpetuation of violence. And with that, I must move on to the business of the city. Also, actually, before that, thank you, Mr. City Manager. I want to see, Gabby, is there any public comment from people online for items not on the agenda?
We do. Go ahead, caller.
You're a hard act to follow, Mayor. I'll just concur with what you said and say thank you for whoever fixed the Zoom feed for everyone to enjoy that's at home.
Thank you for always tuning in, Matthew. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Apparently.
Okay. Shall we all take a breath together? Yeah? Can everybody breathe in? And out?
Yeah.
And repeat? Please continue breathing. We are going to move on, as silly as that feels right now, to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items Before we take action on the consent calendar, we will hear any public comment on consent calendar items only, including any requests to pull consent items. Do we have any public comment on consent items in the room? And Gabby, what about online?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
All right, now, council, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve this consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar. I'll second that.
Great, I have a motion by Vice Mayor Peterson and a second by Council Member Fleming. Are there any objections to the motion? All right, I'm hearing none, so the motion carries. And we are moving on.
Can I say something? On the business of business, just one comment. And the mayor's right, taking care of business, following such important testimony and sentiments, but it's what we have to do. After the burning bush, you chop wood and you haul water. And our democracy is built on what seems like such mundane work that we show up to do every day. And because we do that, and because we take that part seriously as well, you are able to show up here and express your opinions. So I would not want to diminish all of the other things that we do, no matter how mundane, to provide this opportunity for all of us to be together. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. So we're moving on to public hearing, agenda item number 11. Conduct a public hearing in consideration of adoption of resolution number 2023-51, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, California, adopting a regional transportation mitigation fee known as an RTMF. We love our acronyms in this county. Administrative plan, authorizing the execution of an RTMF agreement and authorizing the collection of RTMF fee. Take it away, Mr. Sean Grayson, to introduce our consultant team.
I know that's what you all came to hear about, was this item tonight. There are a couple seats up in the front if any of you want to come up. I promise I won't get too much glare off my head. Madam Mayor, members of the council, both the city and the Nevada County Transportation Commission, or NCTC, conduct and participate in regional transportation planning activities. We partner with NCTC on a regional transportation mitigation fee program. It really is to benefit the regional network of roads, which we we are a hub of regional transportation. We're this little tiny city of 2.19 square miles with a little over 3,000 people, but if you want to get to Truckee, or you want to get to Grass Valley, or you want to get to the Ridge, or you want to get to the little town of Washington, you come through our network of streets. And so it's important that we participate regionally for the benefit not only of the city, but the areas surrounding us. So that regional transportation mitigation fee program is updated on a regular basis. It was last updated in 2016. NCTC has completed a comprehensive review, and their consultant, GHD, has completed a Nexus study update. The NCTC updated their program and plan in July, and staff's recommending that the council adopt the RTMF administrative plan, including authorization for the city to collect the fees and authorize execution of the agreement between NCTC and the city. This is a slightly different process than normal due to a series of laws. Normally, when we do a public hearing notice, we do it 10 days in advance of an activity. In this case, because it has to do with a specific sequence of fees, it required a 30-day advance notice. So we did that 30-day advance notice. The Board of Supervisors approved this item yesterday, and Grass Valley has approved it as well. With us tonight on Zoom are Rosanna Southern and Don Hubbard from GHD, the consultants that did the work, and Aaron Hoyt and Mike Woodman from NCTC. We'll give control over to Rosanna so she can bring up the slide deck for the presentation, and when they're done, they will hand it back to me for the next steps for the council.
All right, thank you, Sean. Can everyone hear me and see my screen?
Yes, Rosanna, welcome. Thank you.
Rosanna, I think you've got the wrong screen.
How about now?
That's
Yes.
Didn't hit play yet. So let me remove this. There we go. So again, thank you, Sean, and good evening, council members. Again, my name is Rosanna Southern, and I'm with GHD. I'll be presenting to you all today the information that went into the update of the Regional Transportation Mitigation Fee Program, known as the RTMF. I will start off by going over the background to the RTMF. Then I will briefly go through recent legislation that introduced some new requirements on fee programs statewide. After that, I will discuss the Nexus study that we just completed to fulfill the legal requirements and the results, including the recommended changes to the fees. I'll then discuss the administrative manual and what's included in that, and then the next steps, including actions that staff recommend you take today. I will then close by answering any questions you may have. So let's start by discussing the program and why it's being updated. The RTMF program was established in 2000, so more than 20 years ago. It covers the western part of the county, including the cities of Grass Valley and Nevada City. The RTMF program has brought in more than $8 million, which has helped fund roadway improvements that you've seen over the years. The fee program requires a Nexus study, which I'll describe in a few minutes. The original study was done in 2000, with updates done in 2008 and 2016. So why do we update the fees? Well, the simple answer is that state law requires it. The reason also is that conditions change over time, including traffic levels, expectations about development, construction costs, and so on. Some projects get built and you don't need to collect money for them anymore, while other projects may be added to the list. The goal is to maintain fairness to everyone. Development is asked to pay its fair share of needed improvements, but no more than that. So the purpose of a Nexus study is to analyze the nexus between new development and the need for the roadway improvements. The state legislature has recently had its eye on fee programs because of concerns that impact fees are affecting housing affordability. So in the last couple of years, they passed some new laws that affect the RTMF and other fee programs across the state. The first one I'll discuss is AB 602, which went into effect last year and was intended to clean up the opaque and informal way that many programs operated and to reduce the fee burden on small, affordable units. Most of the provisions were to enforce best practices that not everyone was following. The RTMF was already doing those things, so they don't have much effect on the program. However, there was one big change that affects the RTMF, which is fees on residential development must now be based on the floor area of the dwelling unit, just like fees for office buildings and retail are based on the floor area. This is how the state is trying to reduce the burden on smaller units by shifting more of the burden onto larger houses that tend to generate more traffic. So instead of charging a flat fee for single-family houses and a different flat fee for apartments and senior housing, we're now separating each category into small, medium, and large sizes. These size categories were determined in coordination with the advisory committee. And again, the point of the legislation is to ensure that larger units pay more than smaller units. The legislature's other focus has been on accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, which are separate additional dwellings built on a lot that already has a house. These used to be charged impact fees just like any other new house, but SB 13 has created a completely new system for assessing fees on them. To start with, ADUs smaller than 750 square feet are exempt from fees. If the new unit is larger than 750 square feet, then the fee is based on the size of the ADU compared to the size of the primary unit. So an ADU larger than 750 square feet, that is half the size of the primary unit, would now pay half the fee that the primary unit would pay if the primary unit were newly constructed. And again, the hope is that this will aid in the creation of small, affordable housing. So that is the background to the Nexus study. Now I'll explain the details of the updates. The purpose of a Nexus study, again, is to analyze the nexus between new development and the need for the roadway improvements, so its calculations form the basis for an impact fee adjustment. In this case, since NCTC, Nevada County, and Grass Valley all needed fee updates, and since these studies would use a lot of the same materials, such as the same traffic model and land use assumptions, the three agencies agreed to have three separate but closely coordinated studies by a single consultant, us. This would save time and money and ensure consistency between the studies. So we did the studies and presented the draft recommendations for the RTMF to NCTC on July 19th. NCTC accepted the study and recommended that the local agencies adopt it. We also presented the updates to Grass Valley and Nevada County, who adopted the RTMF, as well as their local impact fees back in August and September. Now, calculating the percent attributed to new development has legal limitations per the Mitigation Fee Act. New development can't be charged more than its proportional share. So the graph here that's shown on the screen here shows three cases as an example, where the gray represents existing traffic, the green represents future growth in traffic, and the black line is the capacity of a road, for example. So case one is when there is no deficiencies now or in the future, then no impact fees can be charged. Case two is when there is no deficiency now, however, new development triggers a deficiency. In this case, 100% is attributable to new development. Therefore, 100% of the project costs can be from impact fees. And case three is when there is an existing deficiency and development adds to it. In this case, the share attributable to new development is based on its share of the future deficiency. As shown here, it's a y over x. So updating the Nexus study for the RTMF included updating major inputs, including growth forecasts, project statuses, trip rates, and project costs. So now I'll discuss the proposed changes and resulting proposed fees for the RTMF. So as we discussed in the previous slide, during the Nexus study, we update the project list. This is a project list from the previous RTMF Nexus study. And as you can see, we've had some that were constructed, some projects were dropped due to new forecasts that said no deficiency is expected, and several that were retained due to the reconfirmed deficiency. But I want to draw your attention to the State Route 49 widening projects that are shown in gray. So these projects are very expensive, and the RTMF fees could cover at most 53% of that project total cost. And that would leave a gap of at least $180 million that would have to come from somewhere else. And there needs to be a reasonable reasonable expectation that NCTC will be able to fund those projects for the remaining costs beyond what the fee program covers. NCTC staff decided it would not be appropriate to leave those projects in because of the lack of anticipated funding. The one project that was kept in is the State Route 49 corridor improvement project between McKnight Way and LaBar's Meadow Road due to anticipated funding. So after updating the inputs and project lists, we made a calculation to determine the maximum portion of costs eligible for the fee program. And you can see that calculation in column C. With additional grant funding anticipated, however, this allows the fee program amount to be reduced to 28% of the total project cost. Therefore, $17.8 million is used to calculate the fees for new development. The fees are calculated by taking the project costs attributable to new development, splitting it between residential and non-residential development, and dividing those based on the number of trips anticipated between residential and non-residential. Compared to the current fees, the proposed residential fee per equivalent dwelling unit, or EDU, increases by about 5%, and the non-residential decreases by about 31%. This was mainly due to the growth projections within the region. The overall regional non-residential growth in trips is more than residential, so the cost for non-residential is split over more units, resulting in a lower fee. Additionally, many residents of the county outcommute to work and shop, putting a strain on the road system. Non-residential development that lets people work and shop locally is relatively easy on the road system. This is one of the reasons why fee studies are conducted, because growth projections change and the resulting fee calculations show that corresponding adjustment. And then for residential uses, there is one more step in the calculation, which is to adjust the fee based on the size of the unit per AB 602. So the fees are based on size and type in the 3 categories shown here. This comparison is just of the proposed fees for single-family units for each size category. All fees for residential categories are presented in the Nexus study in the executive summary and in table 3.9 on page 27. And for council's reference, the executive summary would be agenda packet page 148 and 149. So as shown, smaller units are charged a lower fee, and larger units are charged a higher fee. The smaller units would be charged less than even the current fee. This differentiation by size shows that we are complying with the framework set by AB 602. This shows the proposed RTMF in comparison to peer foothill counties. As shown, the residential fee per EDU would be in the low range, and the non-residential fee per trip would be in the very low compared to peer counties. Now I'll present an overview of the administrative manual. The administrative manual is a separate document that provides guidance to agency staff on how to implement the fee program. The manual includes instructions on doing the calculations, administrative roles, annual reports, credits, reimbursements, and program updates, etc. This was updated to reflect the changes from the Nexus study and state laws. All right, thank you very much. I'll now pass this back to city staff, Sean, to go over next steps.
Thank you, Rosanna.
Thank you, Rosanna. Yeah, so next steps for the council is that we'd recommend that you conduct a public hearing. This is not an ordinance, but it does require a public hearing, and then adopt the resolution. The way that this is implemented is that when somebody brings in an application for development, all the fees, whether they be the city fee or this regional traffic mitigation fee, that are going to be assessed are done through the planning office. Lisa is in the audience. She's the one that's going to have to live through this, but for people that are applying, it will be streamlined. It'll look no different other than the rates will be calculated or applied differently. But the impact on developers will simply be the change in the costs, not the change in the process. So with that, we'd recommend you conduct a public hearing and adopt the resolution.
Excellent. I am going to go to our audience. Is there any public comment on this item? You guys, do you have anything to say about this? No? All right. What about online, Gabby? Is there public comment on this online?
There is not.
All right, so moving right along, I am going to, I'm looking for a motion to conduct a public hearing, adopt the resolution number 2023-51, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, California, adopting a regional transportation mitigation fee administrative plan, authorizing the execution of an RTMF agreement, and authorizing the collection of RTMF fee.
So moved.
Great. I have got a motion. How about a second?
I'll second that.
Great. I've got a double motion by Councilmember Cece and Councilmembers Fleming, and a second by Councilmember Klein. Gabby, can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
And Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Awesome. Thank you so much to our consultant team for that presentation. Moving right along. So, how many of you here are skaters and are here for that issue on the agenda?
Do that.
I was kind of catching a vibe in the room. I thought you might be skaters. So just so you know, that was agenda item number 11. Your agenda item number is? 16. Close. Minus 2 is 14. So we've got a few more. So thank you for being patient with us. Feel free to take a break. Bathrooms are in the hall. Yeah, take a break and come back. We will ask that you remain respectful and quiet in this room as we continue to do this really exciting business of the city. All right, moving right along to item number 12. All right, I'm gonna wait for folks to exit out quietly, yes.
But come back.
Come back, please. All right, item number 12. A second reading and consideration of ordinance 2023-10. Hello. Quiet, please. All right. An ordinance of the City of Nevada City, California, imposing a special transaction and use tax to be administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration to fund the city's wildfire prevention and mitigation program. Chief, can we close those doors, please? Awesome, thank you, sir. Sean, take it away.
Scare them away.
Awesome. So this is the second reading of the ordinance, which we normally do on consent, but since this is a tax measure, two things. One, is always good to get additional public input if there is any on a tax measure. And number two, more importantly, it requires a 4/5 vote of the council to pass the ordinance relative to the tax measure. So we are doing it on a business item so we can gather that vote. This week is the 5th anniversary of the campfire. So in my 18 months here as a city manager, a common phrase I hear is we don't want to be like Paradise, which was the town destroyed by the campfire. This tax is the proposed funding stream for the actions to make Nevada City safer from wildfire. In short, it's a proposed tax of 0.5% special sales tax, which requires a 2/3 vote of the voters to pass. It's anticipated to generate $900,000 in annual revenue, all going to the specified uses. Has a 5-year sunset and an oversight committee. The activities are outlined, but they have everything to do with prevention and mitigation of wildfire risk and engagement of the community in the same regard. If you adopt the ordinance tonight, we'll go to the voters on March 5th, 2024. In between here and there, we'll be working with the Fire Safety Advisory Committee to make recommendations and provide input towards timely implementation of the action plan that you adopted at the last city council meeting to coordinate efforts should the ballot measure pass in March. Our grant-funded wildfire fuels mitigation equipment operator, a fancy way of saying the person that's going to do everything from weed whacking to dozer work, is going to be hired on June 20th.
Yes.
Or, I'm sorry, November 20th. So, yeah, June, whatever. November 20th, so coming up in a couple weeks. And our community outreach officer position, which is the person that will oversee all of this program, we anticipate starting in January. And then we also anticipate by January to bring back to the council a contract for the development of a community wildfire specific our CWPP, a community wildfire protection plan specific to Nevada City. So with that, we'd request that you hear from the public anything that they might have to say and then adopt the ordinance.
Excellent, thank you, sir. We are going to go to the public. Is there any public comment on this item in the room? All right, Gabby, what about online?
There is not, Madam Mayor.
This is more speed, okay. Bringing it back to the table, anything anybody wants to add before we move forward?
I just want to iterate again, the work that needs to be done, whether we fund it through this sales tax initiative or not. It will take much longer without the direct funding resources to really deal with some very urgent issues in our community around fuel mitigation, education, evacuation routes. So we need to do this no matter what. The plan is in place. We're going to develop further plans. We're going to align with the county. We're going to do all of the things we need to do. How quickly we do them will be a product of the availability of resources. We will always seek other sources of funding. We will look to the general fund. We will look for grants. But it's going to be a long, slow process without this sales tax initiative, and that's why it's so important to have this. It's such a critical issue for this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Any other comment at the table?
We commented last time on this, so I.
Great,
we're
so
good.
I'm,
Can't say it enough.
Yeah.
sure.
Fire's the most important thing that we deal with, you know.
All right, I'm looking for, I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolution, wait a second, that's not the one. I'm looking for a motion to hold second reading and adopt the ordinance 2023-10, an ordinance of the City of Nevada City, California, imposing a special transaction and use tax to be administered by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration to fund the city's wildfire prevention and mitigation program.
So moved.
Seconded.
Great. I have a motion by Councilmember Cece, a second by Councilmember Klein. Gabby, roll call, please.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
For sure.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Excellent. Moving right along, number 13. Consideration.
Madam
Yes.
Mayor, personal breaks or perhaps
Bio break?
bio breaks?
Okay, the council is going to take a 5-minute bio break. We'll be back at the top of the hour.
It's old man. Thank you.
or special counsel.
Hi, everyone. Forgive our 3 minutes tardy. Moving right along to item number 13, consideration of adoption of resolution number 2023-52, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, California, adopting the Nevada City Cannabis Equity Assessment and creating a Nevada City Cannabis Local Equity Program, and authorizing a one-time fee waiver / reimbursement for equity participants in an amount not to exceed $10,000. Excuse me. Lisa McCandless, please introduce our consultant team and let us know what's coming up.
Hi, Lisa.
Hello, good evening, Council, Madam Mayor. So yes, we've been working with Cal Poly Humboldt sponsored programs foundation. They're also known as California Center for Rural Policy, in an effort to be able to apply for Tier 2 funding through GoBiz for cannabis equity grants to local jurisdictions. We have been working on the local equity assessment and program manual. And the goals of the program primarily are to create an equity program for cannabis for the city and to help break down barriers to entry and provide assistance to our existing cannabis businesses in the form of fee waivers and many, many ways that we could help the existing businesses or applicants financially. I'll let the folks from Cal Poly Humboldt speak about that. Outcomes of the cannabis equity assessment and cannabis equity, outcomes of what you have before you today is the equity assessment, cannabis equity assessment, and cannabis equity program manual. We'd like to start identifying equity applicants immediately and start work and to hopefully give financial assistance immediately, which is why we're requesting a $10,000 fee waiver. I'll let Sean speak to that part of the program.
I'll hit that when they're done. If you approve the program, then I'll ask for the money.
So, trying to keep it short here for all the people in the room. We'll now take a presentation by the team that helped us with the assessment. And then we do want to open it up for discussion and answer questions and hopefully get a recommendation to adopt the resolution and authorize the fee waiver. So with us tonight, we have Nicholas Ortiz, Skylar Kirsch, and Dawn Aldridge. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. So the purpose of this plan is to help formerly disenfranchised members of the community gain access to the economic opportunities in the cannabis industry. Nick, can you pull up that slide?
Somebody's done.
Cool. So we have very limited time. And hopefully, Nick and I will both be able to get through what we have to say. Can I go to the next slide? So we have three things that we want to go over. We want to go over the basic takeaways from the assessment, looking at the impacts of cannabis criminalization, as well as the barriers to entry into the legal cannabis industry. And then we're going to talk about some of the local equity plan recommendations. Next slide. So to assess the impacts, we have a 40-page report. I could talk all day about it. I only have a few minutes here. So that the main takeaways here is that when we look at the impacts of cannabis enforcement, we're looking at arrest rates, and on a per capita basis over time in Nevada City and Nevada County, during most periods of time, we see that arrest rates are similar to the arrest rates statewide. So these are arrests for cannabis possession or sales per 100,000 population, except for very distinct periods of time in the early 2000s, we see a large increase in cannabis arrests for possession. And then we see these episodes of increased arrests for sales and manufacturing. So the community as a whole during these periods of time appears to have been more impacted relative to the state. And so the next question is, were there communities within the Nevada City community that were more impacted relative to others? So we can go to the next slide. So to get an idea of that, we have to look at county level data because city level data is too sparse to make any sort of inferences between different groups. So at the county level, what we see is arrests that are consistent with state level trends between racial and ethnic groups. So statewide, what we see is higher arrests per capita for African American and Hispanic communities for overall felony drug arrests. And what we see in Nevada County is what we expect to see if those patterns exist also in Nevada County. So next slide. Looking specifically at cannabis arrests, same kind of story. The data is very sparse, but these are the exact data that we would expect to see if state level trends are also evident in Nevada County. We see higher arrests for African Americans. And we can't really make a comparison on a per capita basis for the American Indian population. We can't say per capita based on these data that this community was more or less impacted. But we can say that the community was impacted. So the data allow us to make that conclusion. Okay, so I'll, one more takeaway here with the next slide. We can also, next slide. And we can also say that youth were more impacted by these arrests compared to the state. So as a percentage of overall cannabis arrests in Nevada City, in Nevada County, more of those arrests were of people under 18 compared to statewide. So youth appear to have been disproportionately impacted by these arrests. So my colleague will take it away with the barriers to entry. We'll go ahead and skip the slide.
So we uncovered 4 main barriers, and these are discussed in the cannabis equity assessment. The first one is financial or startup costs, or really the cost to reach compliance for cannabis businesses. And in our research, we found it costs, around $85,000 to $90,000 for Nevada County cannabis businesses to reach compliance. But it can easily reach into the hundreds of thousands. The South Yuba River Citizens League conducted a survey in 2021 because though the legal market's here, a majority of cultivators in the area are not shifting into the legal market. It hasn't happened. So South Yuba River Citizens League conducted the survey to try and understand why. And they actually asked cannabis cultivators themselves, what are the top reasons why you're not, entering compliance? And financial startup costs and that burden was one of the top reasons that they noted. That's one of the top findings in their survey. And we also interviewed a small-scale legacy cannabis cultivator, and we asked this individual, what are the main barriers you could speak on entering the legal market? And sure enough, this high financial startup cost was something they mentioned. So it's one of the main barriers to consider. The next one is access to personal and business banking services. And the clear issue here is, major banks won't provide services to cannabis firms because they fear legal repercussions from the federal government. It's still recognized as legal. So it's really difficult for cannabis firms to get business banking services. And even most small branches and credit unions, they're reluctant to assist as well. And this causes a pretty significant issue for those entering in the market because they're forced to hold on to all this money, and it raises the risk of robberies. It certainly becomes a problem when they have to pay for services. So if you think of a cannabis business paying its bills, it might be very difficult to do without an actual business banking service set up. And these two financial issues, the banking and the financial startup costs, are particularly difficult barriers for minorities, racial minorities in particular. So that is definitely something to consider, and it's noted in the CEA. In terms of administrative, this again was found in the South Yuba River Citizens League survey. Another common issue is the burden and complications of the permitting process is really making it hard for people to want to actually enter the legal market. It's overwhelming for them. It's very difficult. In our interview with a local legacy cannabis business owner, this is something they mentioned to us as well. It was incredibly difficult for them. They reached compliance, but it was a very difficult struggle. And, the last one is education and business acumen. And from our research and working on the CEA, and particularly looking at the Nevada County Cannabis Equity Assessment, we learned that the cultivators in the area, in Nevada City and the local surrounding area, they're highly skilled and knowledgeable in their craft. That's a certainty. But some of them may lack business education and experience. And this is a disadvantage for them. When you compare that to somebody who might have more business experience, education in business, they might have the edge on individuals that lack those types of skills. So that is our fourth barrier to entry that we noted. And then that moves us on to our recommendations. So we wrote out a cannabis equity assessment, and that's what we just discussed right now. And through that CEA, Cannabis Equity Assessment, that drove us to how we would write out this local equity program manual. It's informed by the CEA, and more importantly, it's seen as a fluid document that can be amended over time. So we wrote out our recommendations, but Nevada City is obviously more than welcome to make changes, update the manual over time for however they see the need to do so. And our main recommendations revolve around eligibility criteria. So things like considering nonviolent convictions and arrest history for individuals as one eligibility criteria, family convictions, or low to moderate income status. These are some of the recommendations we put in the manual. We also had the consideration of veteran status and medicinal consideration. So, cultivating medicinal cannabis. In terms of program access, this is basically the application of trying to reduce and address those barriers that I just discussed. Things like tax and fee reductions or fee waivers, cooperative and co-located businesses. So we have a number of these types of recommendations in there under program access. And the idea is to essentially address these financial barriers, the business acumen barriers, and by facilitating outreach and education too. In terms of program administration, these are essentially, these are basically our description or recommendations on the protocol for the actual program itself. Basically, who's going to run it, be it the city manager or somebody else, all the elements of all the programmatic elements, processing applications, deciding who's going to get permits, who's not, those kind of things. We have a certain set of criteria and recommendations written out for that. And the next one is provision of services, which is essentially anytime that an equity applicant is going to work with eligible services, so for example, TA assistance, technical assistance, and things like that, city manager in Nevada City will work as essentially the liaison between the equity applicant and the individual providing the services. And then the last one we have is program monitoring and evaluation. And this is our recommendations based on, it's essentially a methodology to measure the success of your program. So it's a good idea to track data on general applicants and equity applicants. And over time, you collect these data, and that can help you guide future LEP program manual criteria. It can help guide you make to make changes, whatever you see fit. So that's essentially the LEP in a nutshell right there. And, I'm so sorry. And that's our whole, that's our whole spiel. You guys have any questions or anything?
Great, thank you so much. We're going to go to some public comment first and then come back to the council and see if we have some questions.
I could add one item that I forgot to mention earlier. That is that we made some changes just today to the program manual, and we expanded the eligibility criteria because we became aware of someone who has an instance in town that requires a date that's sooner, and so the war on drugs was actually started in 1970 or 71, I can't remember exactly. And so we were requested to broaden our scope. Originally, we had it from 1985 till 2016 as a Tier A eligibility factor. So just today, we decided to make that 1971 till 2016. So it's not in your staff report, but I was hoping that if you adopt this tonight, that could be as recommended. And also with that change, and then also for our assessment and the data set, a lot of the data that was used was using a broader data set to really capture the cannabis community at large here and the way that it has historically been for people involved in the industry. And so the Nevada City area was not just the city of Nevada City, but also the broader area. So we defined that scope and did our analysis on that. And what I wanted to bring to your attention is that in the local program manual, we defined what it is for our the people that we can help to be only within city limits. We had a comment in there about the broader Nevada City area, and so we struck that out, and now it's just for within city limits, which is how we would have implemented it anyways, but just brings greater definition.
Thanks so much, Lisa, for those amendments.
Yeah, I'll let Sean finish, and I'm going to go back.
Awesome. And don't go too far. And then the last piece is that one-time fee waiver reimbursement. When we did the business fee waiver last year, that ended in June 30th of this year, which put a little over $100,000, a little under $100,000 worth of fee waivers into our business community. It included things like parklets and signs for businesses. What it didn't include was anything specific to cannabis. And that was because we didn't have this program yet, something that would allow us to do that in that regard. And so what we're asking for tonight, if you approve the CEA and the LEP, would be that essentially we would contact all of the existing cannabis permit holders and all those with pending applications to determine their eligibility under the equity program. And those that qualify would either receive a fee waiver or partial reimbursement of their fees that they've already paid in this fiscal year. So everyone would be included that is an equity participant. So the $10,000 would be the max. So in theory, if there's 10 equity participants out of our 15 currently licensed and/or applicant businesses, then they would each receive a $1,000 fee waiver and/or reimbursement. I would note that that's about half of what the open fee waiver was for all businesses, which was $2,000. The real reason for this is it lets us operationalize the program immediately, and it forces us to engage the industry to determine who will meet the criteria. The method behind the madness really is that it lets us refine the program very quickly, which will help us in scoring as we apply for funding for future, what they refer to as Type 2 Cannabis Equity Grant funding, which can go directly to the programming under the manual and be in the form of grants, fee waivers, forgivable loans. There's a variety of things, but primarily grants, fee waivers, and business and education support within the industry of cannabis are the areas that are commonly funded. There are other agencies that certainly do this better and faster, and we'd love to hop on that. So with that, we will give it back to the council to hear from the community and or ask any questions of the consultant team or Lisa or I, and we would ask you to consider approving all three parts: the equity assessment, the plan, and the $10,000 program.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to open it up to the room. Is there any public comment on this item?
Hello, my name is Harry Bennett. I have a cannabis business in town, 75 Boast Avenue, and I think we've been licensed a little over 5 years now. I just would like to urge the council to go ahead and approve this. It's a lot more than just this $10,000. Having a local equity program opens up a lot of state funds that we can get back that we've been giving them forever. So I urge you to do this with the changes that Lisa mentioned, so older ones can get in on it too. But I think we went through it and we'd qualify on it, and this would be a big help to our company and companies like it. I'm sure all of us know how this transition that the state has facilitated has been a fiasco, and this will help it. Also, so I just want to make sure people know that's going to be state funds coming. And also, I would like to tie this into the next item, that the money you guys are going to be talking about, you got that $3 million because you allowed companies like ours, people who banned or jurisdictions that banned were not even in the running here. I want to thank the staff for doing this. On this last cohort, they got as much money as San Francisco, and they got as much as Oakland, and they got even a little bit more than Sacramento did. So they're doing a great job on that, and there's a lot more of that to come. And I'm personally really excited and proud that a lot of that is going to, to better and projects like the skate park or whatever happens that are coming from this industry. So thank you. Hope you pass it.
Good evening, Council. My name is Diana Gamzon, and I'm the Executive Director of the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance. We are a trade association representing over 200 local licensed cannabis businesses through advocacy and education. And I want to set the stage of why this grant exists and why it is important. The equity grant, which is provided by the state of California under Governor Newsom's Office of Business Development, GoBiz, provides funding for individuals who have been impacted by prohibition. For a history lesson here, cannabis was officially outlawed for any use, medical included, in 1970 with the passage of the Controlled Substance Act. And that action has had long-lasting and significant impacts on our community at large. And I want to read a quote from one of Nixon's advisors, John Ehrlichman, that sort of sets the stage for this. And I quote, "You want to know what the war on drugs was really all about? The Nixon campaign in 1968 and the Nixon White House after that had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people. You understand what I'm saying? We knew we couldn't make it illegal to either be against the war or black. But by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. And I end that quote. The vilification of cannabis is real, and the impacts are still with us today. This grant acknowledges that there was a war on drugs and that there was prohibition on cannabis. And then I want to say, we want to thank the city for working with the Cannabis Alliance to bring this grant to fruition, and we will continue to partner with the city on the implementation of the grant. Noted in the staff report is that it states that this is an initial program criteria and not static and will be likely revised. We want to make sure that there's opportunity for community feedback as it continues to be revised so that it meets the needs of our local businesses and those that will be entering Nevada City. One thing that we, as we were reviewing everything in the staff report, is that we would like for there to be a qualification for asset forfeiture to be included. This jurisdiction, such as Humboldt County, have added this. Often what we would see is that families and individuals would be victim of raids where their possessions or money was taken, but there was not arrest or a conviction. To many, this was considered robbery. And so asset forfeiture has been included in many other jurisdictions grants, so we would like to see that included. And with that, I just want to, the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance, we support the adoption of this resolution and the authorization of the fee waiver, and truly commend city staff for having the foresight to go after this grant, for leadership. Thank you, Sean, and thank you for all of you on the dais and your leadership.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Diana.
Hi, my name's Eric Metz. I'm the COO of a cannabis business here in Nevada City. I moved to this area specifically to work in the regulated cannabis industry here in Nevada City. There's not much else to say, but I have a graduate degree in business. I can personally attest that well-run organizations with a strong team, a lean supply chain, they can barely survive the way the current industry is organized, let alone scale beyond an owner-operator model. I just want to thank the Nevada City officials and staff for putting this together. My company would qualify for a social equity program designation, therefore it would give us access to the kind of funding and support that we need to grow our business. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Anybody else in the room or online, Gabby, with public comment?
There is nobody online, Madam Mayor.
All right, bringing it back to the table. Questions for the consultants or city staff, comments or concerns?
I have no questions, but I thought the report itself was incredibly well put together and super interesting. This is not an area that is necessarily in my wheelhouse, so I found it extremely educational. And recognizing that, especially in the height of COVID, that the cannabis industry helped keep this city afloat.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam. What else? Yeah.
I'm glad that Diane raised the issue of asset forfeiture. It can be misused and historically has been, and is a substitute for the kind of discrimination that the cannabis banning had originally intended, according to no less an expert than Ehrlichman. So I would like us to consider that, perhaps not with this particular piece of business, but look to adding it, a more reasonable approach to asset forfeiture.
All right.
Yeah, a couple things. Every time Diana brings out the Ehrlichman quote, I bring out the Don Winslow quote, which is, drugs are stronger, cheaper, more deadlier, and more plentiful than ever. It's a good thing we didn't lose the war on drugs. I think one of the things that's important for us to think about in what we're doing, and one of the reasons I support this is, we took this step, we made this commitment from a community perspective to support this industry, and this is a very good way of continuing that support, providing the assets and the resources for an industry that is totally struggling as they attempt to make, it happens every time you move from like a black market to a regulated market, that the transition is rocky and bumpy and shakes out and shakes right and left, and many people simply do not survive it. And that's what we're seeing. I rode through the initial permit process in another county and watched one county issue enough permits for greenhouse grows to satisfy the entire state demand in one county, and this is repeated again and again. So there's been many missteps, but this sounds like a very sound way of moving forward, and again, bringing more resources back into our community to support the industry. I also found the report very well written, thank you. It did make sense, and it was quite enlightening. I would be curious if we could include the asset forfeiture now, if possible, because I agree with that. It's certainly one of the areas that many people suffered from, as Ms. Gamson pointed out, without arrests. They were just going to take your stuff. And I know that happened here quite a bit. I was actually running the local airport in the early 2000s when all the camp helicopters were flying about, and that's where you see those spikes when there was the military was brought in to kill that evil marijuana. So I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
Thanks, Gary. Doug, what have you got?
Well, I certainly support this wholeheartedly, and I'm glad that staff went after this grant. I didn't think we would find some eligibility. I didn't think that there was enough people that would qualify here, so I like that we're expanding the criteria. It's also, just to remind everybody, that our strategic planning exercises determined that we were going to support businesses and support the cannabis industry. So this does both and does it very well. So I'm wholeheartedly for this, and any support we can give to the cannabis industry in our community. We made this investment in this industry, and we have to support it as it struggles and it fights to breathe and become a real industry that can be sustainably funded for people who are opening businesses. I mean, if you can't, I've watched people go through this and put millions of dollars into it only to have it all go up in smoke, let's say. So, wonderful, wonderful concept.
Pun intended.
All right, I don't have anything new to add, just want to echo what Doug said, and it's really important to support cannabis industry folks. That's, like Adam said, that was our lifeline during COVID. We are still a city because of cannabis, because of cannabis in Nevada City. So it's our turn to give back for sure, and then I want to echo the support of the addition of the asset forfeiture as well. So with that in mind, Lisa, would you like to?
Yes, I would like to add to that. Would it be acceptable if we added to the program eligibility, Tier A eligibility criteria, that any person or person with a family member that was affected by asset forfeiture to be eligible as in the Tier A category? Does that sound appropriate?
I would be satisfied with allowing staff to go back and figure out what that language should be, and I'm not sure that I'm comfortable
Doing it on the fly.
wordsmithing with this many people watching.
We can certainly go back and look at best practices, those agencies that have already included that in their program manual, and then we'll confirm with our liaison at the Governor's Office of Economic Development called GoBiz that would be appropriate, because they've changed some rules which have been pretty devastating to other program manuals. They've removed some things that otherwise were very effective criteria. So we'll make sure that happens, and if that's the direction of the council tonight, if you want to just leave it open-ended, that as it could be, we will bring that back, and then
And that doesn't have to slow anything down.
it doesn't have to slow anything down, and we can, as long as we can include it, we will. If we can't, we'll let you know. But also know that, as Diana said and as Lisa references, is a living document, and we intend to amend it over time every year as we can seek more and more money and refine the program to better serve that industry.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And can you remind us of the three pieces?
So it's just adopt the resolution, but, and the $10,000 seed program. So the resolution adopts the cannabis equity assessment, the local equity program manual, and then the program is the $10,000. And if you make that motion to include the recommended change for asset forfeiture, and I also would request that you confirm that the changes that Lisa brought up earlier that that are needed specifically to, it's only in the city of Nevada City, which we would have done anyway, but needs to be written in there. And then the clarification on, what's the second part? This is a long meeting. Then starting in 1970 instead of 1985, which was clearly the war on drugs since that memo came out in 1968.
So I'm looking for that motion.
But one further question, if I might. And I presume that as we did with the business fee waivers, that you would come back to us, if necessary, with a request to further fund that if it made sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
And the funding source for this is American Rescue Plan Act funds.
okay.
So it's the little tail pieces of other monies that
So
were
it's
cobbled together to do
potentially
this.
there. Yeah.
Gary, would you like to?
Yeah, I'd like to
me
give it a
that
try.
motion?
Sure. Okay. All right. Let me put on my, okay. So, yes, consideration, it's an adoption of, I move that we adopt resolution number 2023-52, adopting the Nevada City Cannabis Equity Assessment and creating Nevada City Cannabis Local Equity Program, and authorizing a one-time fee waiver reimbursement for equity participants in an amount not to exceed $10,000.
With the changes.
With the recommended changes by staff, including the extension of the timeline and keeping the funding within the city limits, and also directing staff to consider how to include the asset forfeiture and return at a later date to keep us informed.
I second.
Excellent. I've got a motion by Vice Mayor Peterson and a second by Councilmember Klein. Gabby, a roll call, please.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
Oh. It's really anxious for item number 14.
Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Excellent. Thank you, consultant team. Super appreciate that. Cannabis Alliance, cannabis industry, awesome. Look forward to it. Y'all, you made it! You did it! Is everybody awake back there? All right, we're moving on to item number 14. Consideration of a grant modification for the Proposition 64 Cohort 3 Grant Award related to turf field conversion and other potential project amenities. Mr. Grayson, please take it away.
Awesome. So the city's in its last 4 months of the Cohort 2 Proposition 64 grant, which was $1 million over 3 years. As one of our cannabis business owners noted in the public comment, Prop 64, this Prop 64 grant is derived of state taxation of legal cannabis industries. This year, we were awarded a $3 million Cohort 3 version of the grant over the next 5 years. One project under the grant submission for equipment fixed assets category was, quote, the purchase and installation of a new turf field at Seven Hills School and converting the school resource into a city park focused as a cannabis-free zone with facilities for youth to engage in healthy activities and recreation to help build protective factors against substance abuse. That's a lot of words, but it speaks to the specifics of the grant and what they are looking to fund. The total amount requested and received in the grant for that portion of the project was $1 million. Staff and I met with Superintendent John Baggett, who I hope is still in the audience, and other staff members from Nevada City School District on the topic. Early on, he and his staff had identified that the $1 million would not actually be able to accomplish the field rehab that was identified in their capital planning needs. Not that it might not be beneficial, but it certainly would not do the entire project there. So as all things have, the cost of these items have gone up significantly. At the same time, there's been significant opposition to the idea of a turf field in the community, whether you want to call it reducing carbon sequestering grass or increasing forever chemicals in the community. There's been some consternation there. The superintendent had initially requested that instead the city use the money to pay for rehabilitating the existing grass fields at both Seven Hills Middle School and Deer Creek Elementary School. As we looked into this, really any substantial change to this grant requires a submission of modification to BSCC, and this modification will require council to direct me to make that modification. In practical terms, modification submission's a request. There's no guarantee that we would get it, but what makes it much more likely, and we have done modification requests for our Cohort 2 grant, so we know the process, is that it be consistent with the way that the grant was funded and graded in its initial approval. So there's no hard and fast rules, but in submitting the grant, this project essentially had 3 attributes. The first was that it included a new park amenity to serve as a drug-free location for youth. It's a new park for the city, in this case via shared use of school facilities. And 3, it's a city-school partnership for youth programming. So those 3 components are what make up the project. We shared with the school district that their request to use the funds for essentially maintenance of existing amenity didn't align with the project entirely. Specifically, it doesn't create a new amenity. So it is consistent with, it's a partnership with the schools, and it is creates a new park facility for the city after hours of the school, but there's not a new amenity as would be if there was a new turf field. That's a physical thing that we're buying to place there. In the meantime, we've had an offer from the owner of the Nevada City Tech Center. I believe Chris is still here this evening, to donate land for the city's use as a skate park. Both the grant modification and the land donation for the skate park were in front of the Parks Committee on October 13th. A grant modification for the skate park alone would be a new amenity, so it'd meet criteria 1. And the donated land would become a new city park that's not restricted to school hours, so it would meet criteria 2. Eliminating the school partnership, though, doesn't meet criteria 3. So the turf field in and of itself, probably not going to work. And the skate park all by itself as a standalone item, also not consistent entirely with the 3 elements of the project. So we met with the school district to explore potential options for a blended project. Both of those options are still available to the council. So you could say move forward with the turf field, that no modification needed. You could say move forward with a modification for skate park only. Both of those are available to you, but what we've been working is on a potential for a middle ground that provides more than either one of the binary options. And so that blended project would be both a skate park project and the school project. The skate park project would include land acquisition and site design, skate park amenity design and build, future expansion, parking, bathroom and snack shack, security measures, including fencing, cameras, and the like, and a path of travel from the Seven Hills School property to the skate park property. The school district's recommendation for their portion of the project comes from their facilities planning effort, their master planning effort, and the things that they know they need to do already. It eliminates the turf field proposal, so no synthetic turf there, but would provide a comprehensive regrading, drainage, and sprinkler upgrades and new grass installation at the Seven Hills site. A decomposed granite track around the field, a bathroom and snack shack in the area, a fencing project, not fencing like with an epee like a sword, but actual fence around the, thank you.
That was your, you got the joke.
And then consideration of this would leave the baseball, softball fields the new grass and everything, but nothing else would be done with them. So consideration for future opportunities in that regard for the school. The school district has offered that the modifications of the school would still become a school or a city park after hours, and would be open to discussion on whether the school district could make the new mountain bike course at the school also a city park after hours. And the reason for that is it is also immediately adjacent to the tech center property, and there may be some synergy as far as parking and access and other opportunities for the use of that amenity. If we put both the skate park and Seven Hills projects together, they clearly meet the three criteria. So I do anticipate that I will be able to, what I refer to as cobble money together from the existing cohort 2 grant that we have some leftover funds in there. The state is going to allow us to apply that to cohort 3 purchases, which will free up money in the cohort 3 grant that could be in the grant modification then attributed to this project. I believe that'll be on the order of $175,000. It may be more, but I certainly don't want to overpromise there. Even with that amount, we're still under where we would like to be. The school district has suggested that they could include a $150,000 contribution to the combined project this year, and certainly would look for potential additional funds in future years. You know, obviously they can't commit to that at this point because that's next future year's budgets, but looking at what they would need to do anyway, they've offered that they would like to engage in that. In total, this brings us to about $1.325 million available for the combined project. We don't know the actual cost because we haven't put these items out to bid. There's certainly some synergies in doing the design for the snack shack and bathroom at both facilities at the same time, and the like. There's also, I believe there will be a groundswell of support from nonprofits and community members in doing some of these activities. 49er Rotary, for example, built at their own cost the bathroom facility at Tobias Park, and which is at the county, at the Root Center county facility. And I'm sure that between our various clubs that have already been active in recreation, we could get some support there as well. And the school district has a history of getting support from businesses to, you know, do more when it involves projects for youth. So I believe we could do more, but right at that amount, we couldn't do all of the projects all at the same time. And truth be told, we can't do all of it all at the same time anyway. But a phased approach would allow us to do, in phase 1, the skate park land acquisition and site design, skate park amenity design for the primary element to be built, leaving opportunities for future smaller amenities after the skaters skate there and know what they want for future phases. Skate park parking using existing private property, skate park bathroom and snack shack, regrading drainage, sprinkler upgrades, and new grass installation at Seven Hills, the decomposed granite track around the field at Seven Hills, and the design of all the other amenities at the school in a phase 1. This would leave essentially funded between what the school district is putting in to the project and the grant modification. This would leave the security measures, fencing, cameras for the skate park, the path of travel from Seven Hills School to the new skate park, the bathroom and snack shack at Seven Hills School, the fencing project at Seven Hills School, and whatever the future baseball, softball field conversion may be as a future phase 2 or an unfunded component. I would note, though, by designing all of this, we'll have costing and we'll know where we can target grants. You, at our last council meeting, approved us to have a grant firm and 2 on-call firms that we can target selective grants for this, as well as line up the timelines of when these things could go. For example, you know, the school generally does construction when school's not in school, and whereas that may not be the case for Chris's property. So essentially what we're requesting you do is give us direction, prioritize the amenities that you believe is most appropriate for the proposed project and any grant modification. I would say that the next steps really are dependent on what your direction is tonight, but any modification is going to take some time. So if we submit it now, I don't think we'll get anything back from the state until January. So during that time, we would definitely be looking to engage a facilitator or planner to help guide the public discussion on the skate park design, because you certainly don't want me designing it. You don't want the city engineer designing it, because while I may be on it with my kids, I'm certainly not your principal user. So we want the community and the people that are going to use it to design it. And so, but that takes some, Obviously, we have to work with the tech center property owner for site selection, site control opportunities, parcelization, whatever the case may be there. Work with the school district for an all-phase site design for the Seven Hills component of the project, and to develop a master site layout and cost model for the project. I believe we could accomplish the majority of that by the time we get the word on the grant modification, which would put us in a place where we could share with all interested parties how much money is going to be available for each part of the project, how much each part is going to cost, and then put us on the hunt for the right amount of money and the right amount of community support to get all of the elements done. With that, obviously, the room is full tonight.
Are you done talking yet?
Yeah, exactly. I'm paid by the word, so let me get a little bit further in. That is all
For that joke.
that is all I have, other than whatever direction you give us, we can execute on. But I think there's great opportunity to hear from the public and to find a path that provides a greater community amenity through this public engagement process than was ever entertained in the original grant submission, how it started. So,
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right. You folks are the clappingest bunch. It's really great. Mr. Baggett, would you care to come up and have some public comment time? Sure. Great. We'd love to hear from you. And then we're going to open it up broader to the rest of the room.
Good evening, Nevada City Council members and City Manager Grayson. John Baggett. I'm a longtime Nevada City, born and raised, and superintendent in the Nevada City School District. I strongly urge you to allocate the $1 million from the $3 million Proposition 64 grant as originally intended, specifically for a community field. This aligns with the grant's initial purpose and the collaborative efforts we invested in its creation with the city. As a former director and principal of Lyman Gilmore and Scotton Schools, I was part of the original conversations about the city of Grass Valley and the Grass Valley School Districts creating a partnership to let the city use our land for parks for the school district. And it's great to see those conversations come to fruition as the city and the school district work together where they have state-of-the-art fields. Our Nevada City families unfortunately travel over there to use their fields for organized sports every day. It is this kind of partnership that I had hoped to create. Our school fields are a cornerstone of our active community, and it is in dire need of revitalization. These improvements are not solely for the benefit of the students in the school. They'll provide a safe and spaces of recreation in the entire community. I spoke with Dwayne Strausser this week. He gave me permission to use his name, former city council member. You all know Dwayne. And his thoughts were very worthy of noting this evening, that the skate park should be, if indeed moves forward, it should be an appropriate size for Nevada City. What is being looked at may be an overkill for the number of skaters that we actually have in Nevada City. Most skate parks, most skate parks by the data show that they are underutilized, and he understands public works and believes there won't be a huge use that as we are losing kids in population and we do not really have the justification for a huge skate park. He estimated about $200,000 to $300,000 for the size of skate park that Nevada City needs at Grass Valley Skate Park. is underutilized compared to what they planned it for, and he was on the planning of that committee years ago. We do not oppose, the district does not oppose skateboarding, nor do I personally, or a skateboard park. In fact, we have maintained skateboarding on our campuses. Mr. Shug, our principal, and I, and many of our staff turn a blind eye to skateboarders. I did just this afternoon in Seven Hills School. Someone skateboarded by me without a helmet, and I asked them, please put a helmet on. But they're not really supposed to skateboard park. They're not really supposed to skateboard. Additionally, we established a skateboarding camp. I don't know if you knew that. This summer, we had a skateboarding camp on our campus that we hosted. And we've also, the mountain bike pump track, we've created that, and this mountain bike track, along with other fields and all of our playgrounds, could be part of a joint use between the parks and the city on 4 campuses that we own within the city limits. The inception and discussions of the improvement of this Seven Hills field was years ago, with an initial concept being scribbled on paper and a napkin at Jernigan's restaurant. And from that point, we have worked together, and we are excited to see the award letter for $1 million allocated for the Seven Hills Community Field that we worked hard for. This grant presents an opportunity to continue the conversation and make substantial improvements for the benefit of the community and well beyond. I respectfully urge the Nevada City Council to honor the original intent of the grant by ensuring that our substantial portion of the $1 million, or a substantial portion of the $1 million allocated for Seven Hills School, whether real or all-weather grass, remains dedicated to this enhancement. This project will have a positive impact on hundreds of children and adults in the community. And lastly, our schools do bring in lots of students. 700 students and families come into the city every single day, every school day at least, and bring students to this community and support our businesses. We do dinner night out for low turnout nights, Monday nights, Minor Mo's, all those places. We bring in a lot of community, and our footprint in the school district is much bigger than yours. And even in talking with Councilmember Fleming and with Sean Grayson, talking about our footprint helps you, because we have a lot more people in our district, all the way up from White Cloud to North San Juan to Penn Valley and Grass Valley. So all of those people will benefit from whatever we can create together. So again, our intent was to work. We've worked on this. It's part of our master plan, as the manager indicated. But we are not against skate parks, but we really would encourage you to use the money for the intended purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we are going to open up the floor to public comment. 3 minutes. Please say your name, where you live, and share your public comment.
Hi, I'm Michael. I live in Grass Valley. I would just like to say that a large skate park would most definitely benefit the majority of people here. As you can see, a lot of students, kids showed up for this skate park thing. And a bigger skate park would also mean a bigger competition, would mean more people would come down from multiple places. And it would definitely have more people, because at Condon I've seen minimum 25, maximum close to 300 people there before. So a big skate park would most definitely benefit a lot of people in Nevada City and Grass Valley. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael.
Hello, City Council.
I'm so excited that you guys are excited, and if we can just minimize the applause just a little bit so we can get through and hear everybody tonight, that would be really awesome. I don't want to stifle your joy, but just maybe briefer clap.
Hey, City Council, it's Robert Trent on Jordan Street, Nevada City. This is a really exciting project, the skate park. I'm here to support it, and I'm blown away that someone's donating land. That's so awesome. My kids grew up here from the beginning of school all the way to graduating NU. And I talked to them about this project. And the grass field is kind of like a yawn to them. What would make them excited, what did make them excited, is the thought of having a skate park in town. all the struggles they go through about living here and not being able to have transportation. They're not driving. You know, to make it to Grass Valley is a long way if you don't have a car and you're 14 years old. You can make it. I mean, they did. That's where they skated. That's where they skated, was down there at the Tech Center. So I think it's a natural fit. And yeah, skating meant a lot to my son, and it still does. He's 27, and hopefully he'll move back here. He still skates. He still skates in Oakland. So I asked him, like, hey, you know, I'm coming up to city council. What should I say? These are his words, not mine. But he said, don't be a hater. Support your local skater.
Council members, thank you for having us tonight. Sam Shug, proud principal of Seven Hills Middle School for the last 9 years. In this audience tonight are current students and past students from Seven Hills, and I want to make sure they're represented in their voice too. I want to share my frustration and disappointment with how this has changed and pivoted with lack of communication towards us from the council and from the city. I think it is more than fair to have a skate park in this town, but I also think that the way it's been changed isn't the right way. And it is frustrating and disappointing to me in that sense. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, greeting council members and mayor. My name is Mary Maya. I reside here in Nevada City. I'm also a skate mom of 2 students, and I've also been an educator of 28 years. I currently teach at Colfax High School. And one of the things, my son has started skating in the past year. Where my son was excluded, where he was marginalized, where he was ostracized in our regular schools and within the mainstream sports, going and starting skating, and in the past 5 months being at the skate park at Grass Valley, we have received and have witnessed a sense of community that goes beyond anything that I have ever witnessed, even in education in my 28 years. My son has been basically accepted by all ages, people that are as old as me, yes, and up to students from NU, Seven Hills, Lyman Gilmore, you name it, and it is a community that I have not yet seen. This has been so powerful, even from my eyes, that now I'm actually helping the Colfax people to try and get their skate park there through the same funding means. As it comes to grass and funding our schools, I get the importance, but so much has been put and so much money has been put over the years, the decades, centuries, into these mainstream sports and grass, something that is not sustainable, or the turf, which also is not sustainable. But these are for those students that are mainstream students. It is not inclusive of all students. Our students with IEPs, 504s, our most socioeconomically disenfranchised youth are the ones that are not reaping the benefits of what is provided by many of our school districts. Therefore, thank you. There you go.
Hello, my name's Gwen. I live in Smartsville, and I own Ag Natural. So I'm a business owner here in town for 20 plus years with Grass Valley Hydro Garden and Ag Natural. I've raised my 2 daughters. I've got 2, one graduated out of high school, the other one just going in. And both of them absolutely love the skate park. I enjoy the skate park. It's something that we can do as a family. We all 3 can enjoy it. And I really feel for like all of the people in this room that they aren't into the mainstream sports. And the skate park is the only thing in this town for them. And the kids that are from Nevada City area, I would imagine it's very difficult for them to even get over to the skate park, as where the kids that utilize the fields are generally part of families that are working together as a team. And those kids have a ride to be able to get to the fields in order to do their fields-related sports, whereas the kids in this room, they don't have that ride to get there. They don't have a team. There's not a van with other kids taking them to that field, where if, you know, having another field just doesn't seem like it really serves our community in the broad sense that, you know, the kids that like to skateboard, they're more of individuals, and they all need to be able to have a place to go and feel a sense of community. And the strength of the community at the skate park is just, it's really incredible. So I just really encourage that we get to have a skate park in Nevada City and make it more available to everybody that could benefit from that.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Gwen.
Hi, my name is Kathy Wilcox Barnes, and I'm only going to take 30 seconds of your time. I'm not here to speak for or against the skateboard park. I read in the newspaper that it keeps saying a skateboard park off of Reward Street, and Reward Street, access to Reward Street is limited to a fire access only per the development agreement that was signed with originally Grass Valley Group and now with the Tech Center. So I just, as you move forward with your planning, keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Hello, I'm Julo. I just think that the majority of youth in this room right now would rather have a skate park than a turf field, because I haven't seen like one kid who wants a turf field in this room. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, man.
Hi there. I'm Andrea Biebelheimer. This is my emotional support husband, Eric Biebelheimer. We're a skateboarding family. We both skateboard. We have kids who skateboard in the community. And he grew up in Nevada City. And, you know, my in-laws, his dad's still here, and let him build ramps that a lot of people in this room skated because there wasn't a skate park in Nevada City. And I'm sure, wanted one back then, and we're still waiting for when he's 50. But so maybe today's the day. So I think, we travel and skateboard all over the place, and it's just really, I've never experienced the kind of community that I experienced in skateboarding, and as a mom, as a skate mom, as a skater, and also wanted to tell you that a lot of people in this room, I feel like crying, especially the kids who spoke earlier, so there's a lot going on, but a lot of people in this room volunteer for a program that we have. It's a all-volunteer nonprofit called SkateMD. We provide skateboard clinics to children with physical and developmental disabilities. And so many people in this room volunteer, and it's just a way to tell you like the good things that happen at skate parks, in addition to the social time, friendships, and all the skills gained from that. We're giving back to the community, and I'm thankful for so many people in this room. And anything you want to say, or I can say in your behalf?
Nevada County is very underserved as far as skateboard facilities, and it has lots of turf already, and I feel like it'd be a good use of money to have another skate park in Western Nevada County.
Thank you, and thank you to all the friends around.
Hi, my name is Tahiti Pearson. My family's lived here since 1978, and I grew up skateboarding here. And I just wanted to point out the fact that every school and every park already has a sports field, whereas, I know you guys like that one, there's only one skate park. So that's all. Keep it short, but thank you for the consideration.
Good evening. My name is Amata Albero. I am the mother of a skater, many skaters actually, adopted, and I'm also a local therapist. And I just wanted to say that I'm actually very touched tonight to see these young kids advocating for what they need and what they want in this community. At the beginning, I was really skeptical when my son started to skate when he was around 10, 11, 12. And I was a bit concerned about him joining the skate park culture. But I have to say that I'm so grateful of the way skateboarding has been so supported for his mental health. And I think that skating is such a great activity for our youth to promote their self-esteem, their courage, their physical engagement, their focus. And I think that a new skate park would be a great benefit for our community and for our youth. Thank you.
Hi, y'all. My name's Cameron Cox. I'm not the best public speaker. I teach high school and middle school in this community, and I've taught here for the last 4 years. And in Penn Valley, I brought a skateboarding class to my middle school there at Ready Springs, and I now teach at Sale here in downtown Nevada City. And I brought a skateboarding class there. And I just want to commend all the young people in this room who are engaging in the civic process and advocating for themselves tonight. And they've been here for 2 hours and 43 minutes.
Yeah.
So props to all them. And those young people currently don't have a place to skate in this community, and the only place where they are welcomed to skate in this Western Nevada County area is at Condon Park. And I've seen my students grow immensely from skateboarding and its linkage to school. And I want to thank my colleagues, Mr. Shug and Mr. Baggett from Nevada City School District, who I don't work with, but they work just as I do to lift up youth and support youth in this community. And I hear their frustrations, and I want to thank Sean for bringing forth kind of like that compromise proposal that brings two parties together, because we're not at odds with each other. We want our kids to have a place to recreate safely and to grow. And so I urge the City Council to take advantage of this opportunity where land has been donated. Where land has been donated and given to us, and this is a sign for us to uplift the kids in our community and continue to support them. I urge the city councilors to come stop by my skate class, which happens Tuesday and Thursday from 2 o'clock to 3:15, and it's just a short walk away from you up here on Main Street at 505 Main Street. We can reach a compromise here, and we can not take from our fellow schools, but instead you all can double down and invest twice as much in our kids and in our community by supporting an initiative like this. So thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Cameron.
I'm Chloe Hughes, and I live in Nevada City, and it's going to be really short, but I just wanted to point out that, as he said, there's so many people that have been in this room for almost 3 hours, waiting for something that we're all extremely passionate about, and I don't see very many people here for the turf field. I don't know if there's actually one kid that is in here for the turf field. There's so many turf fields. We have one skate park, and as Mr. Baggett was saying, they had a skate class, right? A little thing. Where after that skate class are all those kids going to go to skate? Because there's nowhere that we can legally go to skate. And if we have a skate park, then that's where we can go, and it's a safe place for us to do that. All those runners and people that are using turf fields or soccer fields, they can legally go and play at Pioneer Park or wherever they want. People can go and run on trails in the woods. We don't have that ability without getting ticketed $200 to $300. So, yeah, thank you. Wow.
Thanks, Chloe.
My name is Ben Arechka. I live in Penn Valley. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I just heard it briefly touched upon. There's an intergenerational component to skateboarding where youth are put in direct contact with older folks who want to see them succeed in a healthy way. And for me growing up, that's been really instrumental. I'm a little emotional about it because some of my best mentors I met surfing and skateboarding. We're still in contact today, and it creates this bond of this cohesive bond that, like I said, goes beyond like adolescence, right? So at a time in my life where I was kind of maybe going the wrong way, and it really made a difference to me because I was able to meet people who were traveling from other places, from other cultures, and I met them at skate parks and at the beach. And like I said, different age groups, and so it was really, really helpful for me. But also, as a young man, I had all these hormones going on, and I didn't, I wasn't fully formed at that point in my life. And just to have that connection with older folks who are skating or surfing really kept me on the right track in my life. And like I said, I didn't really hear anybody talk specifically about that element, but I think it's super important to highlight that. And I also play field sports, so that's an important thing too. However, I still do. It just does not have that intergenerational element to it. It's more like group, but there's such a diversity in skateboarding that I really feel that this could, make our county, even though this is a Nevada City project, our county as a whole, more cohesive, more intertwined, and not to mention people travel all over to go to skate parks. I regularly go up to Truckee to go skate there. No matter where I'm at, I look for a skate park, and yeah, it's definitely going to bring money into the city as well. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Sparkles, and I'm actually here because of Holly Dilly. And she owns Crush Roller Shop, and her love and passion for roller skating. She asked me if I wanted to get a pair of roller skates, and I said, Holly, I'm a skater. And we don't mess with that. But maybe I will. She's so cool and makes it look so fun. I grew up in Orange County, and at the age of 15, my freshman year, I was freshman vice president and a cheerleader. My parents that year, they were amazing and great. They decided to start smoking meth. Not so great. Everything just collapsed. My home life collapsed. My friends disassociated. I remember going to school my sophomore year, and my mom wasn't taking me to school anymore, so I had to figure out how to get there. I had a skateboard, so I would skate there and hitchhike. And one day walking down the halls, I looked down at myself because we didn't have a washer, we didn't have electricity, and I was filthy. I had a choice in that moment, and that was I was never going to fit in with the kids I was with my freshman year. That was never going to be my path. And I looked down and I had my skateboard in my hand, and I realized in that moment that that offered me a community that was accepting and wasn't judging me for what was going on at home. I would go and skate with my friends. I would go to the park, and they became family. I never got into drugs. I just went to skate parks. We would travel all around. We'd go to Laguna Niguel. We'd go to Huntington. We'd go everywhere. We would travel. And what he said, we need money in this county. And tourism, people travel to skate. There's skate competitions. There's people who will support the subcultures here financially by bringing a park. It's a destination that is not just for our local community, but will broadcast a wider net to pull people into our county, to spend money, to support our events. And if I didn't have skateboarding at 15, I skated for like 4 miles every day to get to school. It kept me in school because it was my transportation. I had no choice, and I wasn't going to not be in school. So I hope we get the skate park. I mean, look at all these people.
Thank you, City Council members, for being here tonight. My name is Gus Cornell. I am a longtime resident, and I owned a business in Grass Valley for 18 years. That is still going. The other owner is here now. That is Good Times Skate Shop. I worked on the nonprofit from 1998 to 2000 that developed and built the skate park in Grass Valley. And I currently sit on the board of directors for Nevada County Skate, who is helping liaison between the skateboard community and the city to get that park renovated or a new park built. I think, obviously, as you can tell, it's pretty important to a large majority of the young community to get this park built in Nevada City. And I would like to reflect on the fact that while, yes, fields and turfs and these kinds of team activities are very important for the youth, I pay taxes on my property, sales taxes. I don't have any children. And a lot of that money goes towards the school districts, and none of my tax dollars go towards skateboarding. And I would like to see if we could get both projects working. Would be obviously beneficial for everybody, but I think that at this time, with that kind of money, that the most advantageous avenue would be the skate park, because more tax dollars can be raised, because we pay them every month on property taxes, and every time I build something new, I pay a school tax. And so I think that the best use of this grant would be the skate park. And I would also like to extend to the city our nonprofit group's help if we get to that point, and we can help in design and fundraising and get something that the community is going to be really proud of. So,
Awesome.
thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Gus.
Good evening, Diana Gamzon, Executive Director of the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance. 8 years ago, when we founded the Nevada County Cannabis Alliance, and we were meeting with different elected officials and the various jurisdictions around Nevada County, and we were talking about regulations, and we were talking about the tax money or the grants that would be coming back from cannabis tax dollars to the community, and I think we got laughed out of every single room, saying that nothing's coming back to our county, you know. And now, eight years later, the superintendent of schools that's in the county has seen $1 million. NEO and the Friendship Club, or Bright Futures for Youth. Whew, it's a late night. Bright Futures for Youth has seen $1 million, which is going towards building a center for youth homelessness. $3 million has gone to Grass Valley. They'll be building a pump track. And $3 million, in addition to the $1 million that was received a year ago, is going to Nevada City. And this is what? And Chirp. And Chirp. Thank you, yes. And to see things, to see this full circle, to see the passion in this room is very, very, very exciting. So, you know, cannabis businesses pay just a overabundance of taxes, and it's ridiculous, but this makes it worth it to see what can become in our community. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Diana. All right, we'll take a couple more, and then we're going to come back to the table, okay? And see what council has to say.
My name is Shane Dunlap. Thank you for hearing me today. I didn't think I was going to speak, but I was born and raised in this county. And if you get a Nevada City skate park, it is a hope for the future of the kids of Nevada County to have a sense of community, so they don't feel so alone in the woods. But a vote for the skate park is a vote for Nevada County's future.
Awesome. Thanks, Shane.
Hi, my name is Remington Cox. I live in Nevada City. First of all, council, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. I'll keep it quick. Skating has come a long way since I was a kid, a little rat in Southern California, trying to find somewhere to learn how to kickflip without getting kicked out by some police. I went to 2020 to see the Olympics are now hosting skateboarding as a sport. This is not a vote for some niche, weird group of dropout flunkies that want to skate. I want to speak to that beautiful word I heard up here earlier, intergenerational. Skate parks can bring our community together. I had the distinct privilege of teaching alongside my brother, and the skate elective that this guy created absolutely changed lives. If you want to incorporate some of our most disenfranchised learners, all you need is some concrete and some elevation change, my friends. Now, I also want to say really quick, nationwide, skate parks have been popping up. There are more now than there have ever been before. Am I done? No, I got time. I'm going to take it. There are more now than there have ever been before. This can be a place to not only appeal to our teenagers in the room, but pump tracks, these undulating concrete paths that can circulate a skate park, can now appeal to not only our more novice skaters, sadly I still count myself as one of those, but some of our little guys. If you've been at Condon and you dropped into the Big Bowl and a little squirrely scooter has come by really quick, you'll know what I mean. We can design this park with this community in mind. This is a beautiful moment for us all. Thank you for your consideration. I'm ashamed that my skating skills quite haven't kept up with my snowboarding and surfing abilities, but I am so proud to call myself a Nevada City resident, and this would be a beautiful thing that you could do for our kids, for our elderly, and for our little squirts. Thank you for your time.
All right. We're going to bring it back to the table. I'd love to hear from, yes, sorry, Gabby, anything online?
If you'd like to speak on this topic, please raise your hand. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, just real quick, great topic, great audience, and I would want to say the first skate park in Nevada City was in the old Seven Hills Gymnasium. As the school was getting shut down, we had ramps in there and gathered in there and skated in there, and that was like 50 years ago. So that's how long it's taken for this to evolve to this level. So please put it through and ban turf fields for Nevada City. Thank you.
Okay, so I'd love to hear from the Recreation Committee members, Adam and Doug, if you want to weigh in on this first.
Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Chris, can I call you Chris? Sure. What a generous offer to provide space for this. Because when I was knocking on doors, running for office, people have been saying we need more stuff for kids to do. And since I got in, we've been talking about, well, we should get a skate park, but where could we possibly put it? And then I hear that you're offering this space. I will tell you my ultimate nightmare, which is that we come up with a great solution, and the folks from the school feel heard, and there's a compromise worked out, and they get what they need, and this community gets what they need. And then you're on your way to your car tonight, and a kid on a skateboard bumps into you and says something snotty to you, and you're like, you know what, I'm out. So are we locked in, sir?
We're locked in. I've had troubles already. They used to skate over at the loading dock all the time, and I mean, there's been a little bit of trouble here and there. But I grew up skating. I love it.
Beautiful.
And I started a little bit of trouble here and there, so I get it. So,
Awesome. Okay, I just really want to make sure we've got the space before we get too excited. Okay, cool. And it is important to me that the folks from the school, that we come to something that works out for everybody. If I attempted to skateboard right now, I would hurt myself terribly, but I can run around a track, so that has appeal for me. So let's figure out something that works for everybody.
Yeah, so a couple things. So, we've started partnering with the school district more recently. Since I've been on the council, we've, Sam and I developed a friendship, and, I started asking them what they needed. And we had another incarnation of this grant previously that we were able to allocate some funding to the school for everything from vape detectors in the bathroom. This is an anti-cannabis grant, right? And so, and we got a school resource officer that they asked for. And so one day, Sam and I were sitting at Jernigan's, and he said, I want a turf field. And I said, well, I think we could try to do that. We could figure out there's grant funding for that. I had just written a grant for Western Gateway Park that funded, it was $1.2 million for 3 ball fields to renovate their grass fields and put in an RV park. So I know there was money out there for these kind of things. When this incarnation, so this next round of funding was $3 million over 5 years, You know, we wrote the grant for Grass Valley, we wrote it for Nevada City with the help of Sean. And Grass Valley decided to put $1 million towards their skate park to renovate it. Their concept was to, they were having problems there, you know, with younger kids not being able to skate because of some of the transitions, and, you know, certain families didn't want to bring their kids there because there might have been some drugs going on. So the city had the idea to put in some, you know, beginner features, and they were just going to renovate the park. It turns out that since it was so old, they have to tear it all down and start over. They're also going to put $1 million towards a bike park that's going to go next to that. And so, you know, that's what Grass Valley's doing, and it's not really germane to what we're doing. So we got the same grant. At the time, the thing that was a priority as far as an amenity for youth, some of this funding has to go towards youth. It doesn't have to. You used to get points for it in the previous cycle, so everybody else who applied in the next cycles kept that ratio of a third of the money going towards resiliency for youth and anti-cannabis kind of things like that. So at that time, you know, this skate park concept has been kicking around since I've been on council. This is an idea I had a long time ago. We wanted to originally put it in.
You didn't invent this idea, just so you know.
No, but that's my knowledge of when we were talking about a skate park.
Sure.
Yeah. Is that okay now? Can I keep going?
Absolutely.
No,
Go
thank
ahead.
And so, at the time this grant was written, we didn't have a place for a skate park. Pioneer Park, there were some issues there. We didn't want to piss off the neighbors any more than we'd pissed them off already. And so there wasn't a viable space for a skate park. You know, some things came along with the grant, and the grant couldn't be used for its original intent, is what we understood. And there was an opportunity that Chris gave us by donating some space. I said, hey, Chris, you know, he came to me, he wanted to do a pump track. I wanted to do a skate park. Or,
that was Thomas.
Well, one of your friends wanted to do it. So we said, look, I said, if you donate the land, we'll build a pump track, a skate park, and a multi-million-dollar athletic facility for youth. Our youth don't have any place to go. The kids who play organized sports like AAU volleyball, basketball have to go down the hill all the time, and we don't have any facilities here to support them. So having a multi-million-dollar, you know, facility to host those kind of games, as well as a rec center for kids. You know, the whole theme here is that our youth doesn't have, unless you're in organized sports and you have resources, you're not doing anything here because there's nothing for kids to do except hang out in the park, skateboard, and, you know, probably get in some trouble, you know, and we're having problems with skaters on the tennis courts over at Pioneer Park. We just paved them and there's skaters tearing it up. So, you know, there's obviously a need for a skate park, and there's obviously a need that the school feels that they have, and I certainly agree, for more fields here. You know, there's a limited amount of fields in Nevada City for sports, and they compete with each other, and there's a little conflict. So if the school has a nice field, you know, that's a great thing. So, you know, this is not about taking something from the school and giving it to, you know, another group, or, you know, this doesn't have to be a lose-lose or a win-win kind of situation. This can be a sort of hybrid project. Once again, our brilliant city manager, you know, was navigating these waters. It started to get a little turbulent. There were some feelings, you know, and, you know, there was some entitlement to this money that was going around that I don't think was very founded, but Sean came up with a really good idea of a way to do both of these projects and actually give the school more than they were going to get. Under the original grant, the school was going to get a turf field, that's it. Sean has come up with a sort of middle ground for the school to get the grass field, a decomposed granite track, a restroom, and a snack shack, and for the skate park in phase one to have its skate park and some of its amenities that it needs. It's still going to need some other things later on, some other features, and maybe there's a, you know, a second incarnation of, you know, what the features are in the skate park. You know, my idea was that we would have a skate park that had Olympic features and, you know, both street and transition, you know, and so our kids could learn what the kids who going to the Olympic are doing, you know. Up in Truckee, those kids, you know, have skiers and snowboarders who are Olympic athletes training them, and they, you know, kids from Truckee go to the Olympics, you know. Our kids could go to the Olympics down here too, you know, if we give them the resources to do that. You know, So I love what everybody's saying about this segment of people and the skating camaraderie. I was a skater. I grew up skating too, and there was definitely a vibe with skaters, you know, and they protected their own, they took care of each other, and I see that here playing out in so many different ways, and that's just beautiful. So, you know, I really am a pro skateboard kind of person, but I don't want to leave the school, you know, sort of, you know, hanging in the balance, because we did start a process with them where they were going to get a turf field out of that. That didn't work. We pivoted, and we're finding some way to give them what they want and give the skating community what they want. And I think that that's something that we could do here very easily, and build these features and build it with the community in mind, with the community's input to design it. I think it's going to be a wonderful project. And I think the field will be a wonderful thing too that we can do for the school and for that cohort of kids and families who need that kind of support for sports. So that's just my thoughts. I'm very passionate about this. It's been kind of an emotional issue for me too, because I feel like the school is getting a little, you know, short-shifted here, not because they really are, but that's the perception. And so I think that this middle compromise is something that I can live with. I hope the school can live with. I hope the skating community can live with it, because everybody gets something, and people actually get more than they were going to get under the original sort of concept. So that's my sort of emotional plea for a middle ground, and I hope we can get there.
Thanks, Doug.
I think this community needs both the good turf fields and the skate park. And I think this compromise, which gets us a little bit ways toward both of those goals, is the way to get started on it. And the only other thing I want to say is an anecdote. I was walking down Broad Street in front of the National Hotel, and there were three young gentlemen who were using the elevation change there to do skating. And at first I was the grumpy old man going, "This kid shouldn't be here." But I stopped and I turned around and said, "Would you use a skate park if we had one?" And they said, "Yes," and their faces lit up. They didn't want to be on the street, on the sidewalk, endangering pedestrians. They wanted to be in their space. And I think that's going to be good for them and good for grumpy old pedestrians like me.
Speaking of grumpy old.
Yes, speaking of grumpy old man.
What you got, Gary?
He is not pedestrian.
No. So I got plenty to say on this. My first skateboard was a 2x4 covered with shag carpet with roller skates nailed to the bottom. My second one was clay wheels that threw your face first every time you hit a rock on the sidewalk. I grew up in Southern California. It's totally tribal. Surf, car, skate. It's tribal. But you know what? We're all still tribal, but we call it community. And in community, we learn how to do things together, and we do that through process. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about process, and I want to say what I mean by that. What I say by process is it is just as important on how we do things as what it is we do. And this all started out with me. I haven't been in this conversation until recently. I haven't, but all I heard was the partnership the city had with the school on this project. I found out that the turf field was not acceptable for a variety of reasons, and now we're going to get a skate park, and the school's not going to get anything. Now, people have said that's not true, but I listened to you tonight, and however it came to be, your process is that it's skate park or school. I don't know how that came to be, how that divide was created. I got awfully tired of all the divisions that are created in our community when the one thing we need more than anything is to figure out how to do things together. So, tonight, word after word after word, it's got to be a skate park or it's got to be the school. And I get where the school feels shortchanged on this. Everything I heard was I thought the school was getting something and then they weren't. So I get where you got like that. I don't know how that happened, but it doesn't have to be that way. We are a community. We need to work together and we need quality process. And that process includes listening to everyone and understanding and the leadership position that we hold on how to demonstrate the behaviors of bringing our community together and not dividing it. I know who you guys are. I live right next to Pioneer Park. I see you all the time in the Palapa and on the, you guys use the tennis court lights more than the tennis players do out there. So, I'm not opposed to skating at all. I think we need that. I totally get it. I actually have built skate parks in my past life for a community. And the other thing I want to talk about with process is, we're going to try and give you a skate park, but it ain't going to happen overnight. That's not how these things work. I mean, let's be honest about that. We've got to design it. We've got to fund it. We've got to build it. It's going to take a while, but what we really need to do is include all of you in that conversation so your needs are met. At the same time, we need to work with the school. So we need to work that out. What is the school going to get? What is the skate park going to get? And how are we going to do that? One of the things I want to see out of this is some kind of MOU or some kind of agreement between the city and the school about exactly what is happening here. One of the shortcomings and one of the ways we got to this place was a lack of certainty. I've been in government a long time. I've done hundreds and hundreds of contracts. When I hear somebody say, "Oh, we just did it on the back of a napkin at Jernigan's," I freak out because there's no way to understand what that really means, and people walk away with different ideas and different thoughts. So I absolutely support the middle ground. It's where we need to go with this. It's about keeping the integrity of our organization as a city. We answer to all of you folks, and we have to demonstrate the behaviors we want from you, and that means being legit on our process and legit on our word. So that's what, in order to do that, we need to go down that middle, and that's what we need to do. But we also, Mr. City Manager, I think we really need to legitimize it with an agreement of some kind so everybody knows where we stand, so we won't have these conversations.
Great
But,
idea.
thank you for coming tonight. It's cool. And this is, it's.
Hold on, we're gonna wrap up, okay?
I'm done.
Cool. I couldn't agree with Gary more. I mean, clearly, we need a skate park in Nevada City, right? Yes? Right. Yeah, and for all the reasons listed, the culture, the community, something for young people to do, all of the reasons listed, and I think it's important for the city to continue to be good partners and strengthen our relationships and make good on our promises, not just with the school, but any future partners as well. In the past iterations of this city and this council, we've been shitty landlords. We've been shitty. We've done things poorly in town, and I don't want us to be bad partners. We need to make good on our promises, and clearly we need a skate park. So, Mr. City Manager, I would make sure that you have in your notes as part of direction, Gus from Good Times has offered Nevada County Skate, and we've clearly got a room full of young people that want to advise on features and design and such. So we just make sure that we are, again, including them in the process, and then also, continuing to make good on our promises with the school.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. So, do you feel like you have direction, Mr. City Manager?
Well, yeah.
It's provide direction.
Yeah, so if I'm hearing the council right, what my next step would be is to do a grant modification request. So if I'm reading you correctly, it would be a grant modification that would include the proposal for the unified project that includes both the skate park and the school component. We'll include all of the elements in that for the consideration of the grant. There is the limited $1 million for it, but we're going to list all of those items, and then we will work with the school district and staff to submit that modification, but then start laying the foundation for exactly what the pieces and parts will be, how much the school can or is willing to contribute, and what the deficit is, and planning to fill all those holes so that we can eventually bring back a document to you once the modification goes through that would specifically say what the city is committing to, so that the school district can consider that in what they would commit to, and we put it in the paper and we move forward in a unified process. Is that your expectation of what you want me to do moving forward.
Is anything left out of that?
Good.
I got it.
I move we provide that direction to staff.
One other thing is to maybe start engaging, I know you're still in the process of onboarding our new grant writers, but maybe get them just sort of positioned to look for more funding for, the school and, more funding for both projects and for the multi-million-dollar athletic facility.
Thank you all so much for coming out. We do have one more item on the agenda. What's that? Yeah, would you like to come on up real quick?
Most people know me by Moss. I just wanted to mention, because you're talking about the division that seems like it's happening. I don't really feel that way. I'm a little disappointed because we were asked to be here for a meeting like a couple weeks ago about a skate park, and none of this is really brought up. At that moment, there was a division created when it was like, well, we were going to go this direction with the turf field, but now we want to do the skate park. And that's where I think there became a division, really. So I think that was really initiated by the council, and not so much the people who showed up here tonight. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thanks for that clarification. I think that's important. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for, being a part of this process, and stay tuned to see what's next. Thanks, y'all. And we are moving on. Please be quiet as you leave so we can continue to go, finish up, and go home.
So, Madam Mayor, following
Yes.
our own rules, since we're taking up an item after 9:30, it should be a motion and second to finish out the agenda or to carry the item to a future meeting.
All right. Where are we on this?
I move that we take up the final agenda as quickly as possible and end this thing.
Great. Can I get a second?
I second that.
Yep.
Great. All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye, great. All right,
let's do it.
Passes. Item number 15, consideration of input provided to the Strategic Initiative Business Committee as referred by... to the Strategic Initiative Business Committee as referred by the City Council in relation to Ordinance 2023-08, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Nevada City, State of California, amending Section 17.68.080 of Chapter 17.68, combining district regulations, and Section 17.80.190 of Chapter 17.80, Development Performance Standards, both of Title 17, Zoning of the City of Nevada City Municipal Code, relating to lighting and signs. Mr. Grayson.
All right, so on August 23rd, the council considered that ordinance that you read. Thank you. By second reading. At the meeting, there was significant public comment, and the council did not adopt the ordinance but referred it to the Strategic Initiative Business Committee for further input. The Business Committee met on September 28th, and a presentation was provided by staff on all things related to the proposed ordinance and what the existing ordinance say, as there already are, a discussion of what is a regulated sign versus a not regulated sign and the difference between the historic district and outside the historic district. The proposed ordinance is very simple language seeking to that was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission, and is fundamentally seeking to codify in our municipal code the long-standing practice that has been applied that signs are not to be internally illuminated in the city. The ordinance does not say that, so that's what we're trying to bring about. The comments were that initiated this whole thing were largely about signs that are otherwise regulated in the historic district. They're not your typical business signs. They are neon or tubelit signs. They're not currently regulated, nor would the modification regulate them outside of the historic district because they're not regulated signs. So those signs were, and and continue to be prohibited and have been since 1968 with the initial adoption of the historic district and the regulations that followed. That being said, it was clear from the comments that there is a desire by many to adhere to our longstanding regulations, but also a need from some of our businesses to be able to identify themselves as being open after hours. I can't speak for those businesses, but I don't believe that actual funky looking neon sign is the issue. It's more about a business need for identification of being open after hours. And so I believe both items can be accomplished. Lisa has done a wonderful job in a lot of things, not the least of which is coming up with creative solutions to comply with our ordinances, but also make meaningful benefit for our businesses. The Chamber of Commerce has also offered to work with her to develop solutions that comply with our ordinances, but would offer opportunities for businesses to meet their needs in this regard. So I will not read to you what's in the staff report, which is the comments from the business committee or the recommendations from the business committee. I'll let them do that. But basically what we are looking for tonight from you is direction on which way you want to go. And there's fundamentally three ways you could do it. I mean, there's infinite ways you could do it, but the easiest would be direct us to agendize second reading of the ordinance adoption on the December meeting, and to adopt the as written, and we'll provide clarifications relative to all the questions and comments that have come up, what it means, what it doesn't mean. Alternatively, direct staff to revise the ordinance. That would mean it goes back to the Planning Commission to start the process over. And then the third would be to discontinue the pursuit of the amended ordinance. So regardless of your direction tonight, we certainly intend to work with the Chamber of Commerce to have a compliant lighting and sign options available for consideration of our businesses who need that. And Lisa's here, I'm here, happy to answer any questions you have, and obviously there's public comment on the item.
Thank you so much, Sean. Okay, we're going to bring this to the room. Anyone in the room have public comment on this item? Come up and share with us.
Again, Kathy Wilcox Barnes. This time I will take more than 30 seconds. As I said to the committee, I believe, looking around the room, that I am the only one in this room that remembers what Nevada City looked like before we passed the Historical District Ordinance and before we did the Downtown Betterment Project. And it was ugly. It was ugly, with hideous neon signs and lit up signs. You can get those tacky little open red open signs. You can see those anywhere in any strip mall across America. We are not any strip mall across America. We have a historical district. We are very unique, and we need to protect it. And I would urge you to put the wording in. It's worked for us for 55 years. I guess nowadays everybody, analyzes every word in an ordinance and finds a way around it. If you feel that it's needed to keep what we've protected for all these years protected, then please, I urge you to put those words in. It's one of the few changes that's been made to the Historical District Ordinance. And again, the ones that have been made in the past have kind of tightened it up, prohibiting A-board signs or sandwich board signs, and then a couple of annexations to the Historical District. And those are the only changes really that have been made to it in all this time. So to Ordinance 338. So I just really urge you to keep on protecting what we fought so hard for. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Greetings, Mayor, Council. I'm Daniel Ketchum, President of Nevada County Historical Society, and it seems like I'm only at this podium when I'm here protecting the Historical District. Sure enough. We have 400 members in our organization, and I think I can't speak for them all, but collectively, we're all very passionate about protecting the historical district. So I'm just going to read you my last paragraph in my letter of September 22nd, which hopefully you all got a copy of. We hope that you will make these excellent changes to ensure continued success we have enjoyed in keeping our historical district and our historic city the gems that they are. Let's continue to use the sign lighting ordinance as they have for decades, and yes, beef them up to ensure that effectiveness into the future. They have successfully created a look and a feel that separates Nevada City from other communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Lori Oberholzer, 310 Nevada Street. I still like to let you know where I live. I really hope that you will adopt this tightening up of the sign lighting ordinances. It's a pretty simple fix. For 55 years, we have not allowed any illuminated signs in the historic district. And I really think that combined with the gas lights, that this has created a really magical feeling downtown. And it's a big part of the success of our historic district. And I think that this wording is needed to preserve that feeling. So I hope you'll take that into consideration. We also, for many decades, have not allowed internally illuminated signs in the entire city. And that's why when you drive up out of the Glenbrook Basin and under the bridge, the Lower Banner Bridge into Nevada City, it looks completely different at night. It's just a complete change to drive under that bridge. And I think that this wording is also needed to preserve that difference. So I hope you'll take that all into consideration. We had a number of people that wrote letters because they were really worried about the length of the meeting tonight. And I would like to just read a few things that some of them said, and we've given you the letters. Let's see, who was this? Joan Good said, "Please know Nevada City should remain unique." Alan Porson up on Nevada Street said, "Let the gas lights shine." Greg Schiffner, "Please do not take us back to the 1950s, an era when lighted signs added visual clutter to our village." Let's see, who's this? Dennis Lear, "We already have too much light at night." Hank Meals, "I vote yes on the sign lighting limits ordinance." And Eileen Jorgensen, one of our merchants, "Please do not waver and allow electric signs in our downtown. The future of the downtown depends on your steadfastness now." And this is from Nancy Weber. "In a world of over-the-top advertising efforts, let's keep Nevada City authentic and unique, a place to go for a different experience." Anyway, I hope that you will adopt this very simple wording. It's not just about the open signs. Those open signs could say something else. The bottom line is they're neon-like and bright, and they upset the magic feeling downtown at night. So it's not just about the open signs. And if you do some additional work on the ordinance or after the ordinance is adopted, have to do some work on how people can have their open signs seen a little better, I hope you'll also work with Historical Society and the Planning Commission, and not just the Chamber of Commerce, so that everybody can participate in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Most of the time, I agree with the Historical Society. In this issue, I don't. I've spoken about this before. The problem with it is that the timeline, according to what I've heard, is in the 1800s, and the cutoff is 1940. So I was recently looking at a book that was published by the Nevada County Historical Society and through the Union, the Grass Valley Union, They have these thick hardcover books about Nevada County through the ages, and some photographs that were from, the early 30s and even a little bit before clearly show neon signs on Broad Street. And in Grass Valley as well at that time period. So to me, this is an issue that would have to go back to the city planning for them to refine things, because according to cutoff, we have this building right here, which is 1937 or 38, we're in this area, okay? We have the courthouse, which is a thing that I really wish that the Historic Society would get behind, because it's been a functioning courthouse for all these years. It is one of the most splendid examples of Art Deco architecture anywhere in the country, and I have traveled all over the country. It's like, okay, the decision was made, we're going to come off of this. I would like to see people protest, the idea of a necessity for a new courthouse. Why don't we, get behind some of the projects that are not, have stopped being represented, for instance. I think this is an incredible building. It's an incredible example of the style. And we have a eclectic, historic neighborhood and district. And I think we should be considerate of business owners, and a lot of them most of them, I've spent a lot of time in the food stamp office, and more than half are on welfare, including one of the people that is targeted for this. And, the other person has gone out of business now. So I just want people to be mindful of this and considerate of, it's a small town, and let's just be considerate of one another and our need to make a living and survive. Thanks.
Thanks, Andre.
Hi. Thanks for staying for so long, and I learned a lot about skateboarding, and I didn't do it, so I felt kind of not so good. But anyway,
Same.
I think this is a much less complicated issue than some of the other issues that have come up. But I just wanted to say that, I attended the meeting on August 23rd, and I'm very glad that you actually, Sean, explained to everyone there that this is not a new ordinance, or these are not new rules. And I think you sort of explained it to people. A lot of people that were there, some of them didn't actually hear you say that. So I'm just glad that has been made clear, that the ordinance is consistent with ongoing policy, which is central to the way we view our town. And I hope you guys pass the measure. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Any other public comment in the room? Gabby, what about online?
If you'd like to speak onto this topic, raise your hand, please.
Hi, my name is Barbara Romer. I live on American Hill Road, and I've been before this body a number of times to speak about civic issues. I feel strongly that we are doing the right thing with the lighting code as it exists, and that it needs to be tightened up. So I appreciate your reconsidering it, and I'll look forward to the December meeting when we hear more about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Barbara.
Nobody online.
Nobody online. All right, so we are going to come back to the Business Committee. I'd love to hear from Adam and Lou first. Some of your thoughts, questions, concerns, input?
Yeah, this has been an interesting process. I wish Diana was still in the room, since she was a big part of why it got extended the way it did. But during that process, and talking with the businesses that were particularly concerned with this, I was made aware of things I was previously unaware of. And specifically for businesses, and it's not all of them, but that are open past sundown, it's a key concern that their belief is that people are just driving by thinking, oh, they must be closed. And it doesn't need to be the tacky neon signs or anything, but an effective way of letting people know we're open would make a huge difference to these people. And having owned a business downtown, I get that. It is really tough, and as appreciative as we all are of the Historical Society keeping an eye on keeping things charming and how they've been, I hate the idea of people thinking of like, well, Nevada City, it's tough on businesses. Like, it's tough to own a business anywhere. That's a hard slog, but I don't want us to have a reputation as it's impossible to do business there. Let's move to, let's say, grassier valleys with our business. So I would encourage us to definitely make sure we're providing options for these businesses, to make it clear that they're open when they're open, when it's dark outside. We've got this opportunity. One of our strategic items is like provide support to the businesses, work with the chamber. So this is a perfect opportunity for us to do that. So I hope that that's what we'll do.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you. I'm going to strongly suggest that we do option 1 that's listed in the report, direct staff to agendize a second reading and adoption of the ordinance as written with any clarification of intent needed. I think that we should adopt it because of a number of reasons. One, the ordinance did not keep up with the technology, and this is a very quick and easy to understand, at least to me, way of making sure that the ordinance keeps with the change in technology. The second reason is if we loosen that enforcement at all, this isn't the only thing that'll go. It's not just lit signs. It's painted banners tacked to the sides of buildings. It's other kinds of things which interrupt the historic look of the historic downtown. It is true that an open sign lit at night is going to attract eyes, but let's think about the broader good here. The reason people come to Nevada City is, one of the main reasons is because of its historic look. If you stand out from that historic look, you will attract eyes, and you will probably attract business. But if enough businesses do that, you will degrade the original intent, which is to have an historic look, to such an extent that it's no longer useful. So it's a classic example of the tragedy of the commons. Taking individual advantage of a common good eventually degrades the common goods so that it's nobody's advantage at all. So that's why I'm passionately suggesting that we go by number 1.
Awesome. Thanks, Lou.
You're welcome.
Doug or Gary?
Sure. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Lou. But I also, this came about because of a failure of our own process, and I want to be clear about that.
Right.
Because when we instituted our committees and we instituted the strategic plan, we defined processes where people could be heard. We made a significant change that affected businesses without consulting the businesses. Now, I got a lot of flack because we should have just rammed the ordinance through anyway because it was there, and we should have stood behind it and done that. And should have taken, and did folks miss the Planning Commission? Yeah, they did. It's not uncommon. Crickets, 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 pitchforks, and torches. But the truth is we had people that were not heard, they were felt left out of the process, and I don't think we have a council that's going to stand for that and let that happen. So we put it back to the process. It was never about right or wrong on changing the ordinance. It was about a process where people needed to be heard. And because we did that, we learned something important that Adam articulated very clear. We need to work with our businesses so that they can show they're open at night without putting up a really god-awful sign in a window. So I completely stand behind the idea of bringing the ordinance back for the second reading and approving it as written. It does need to be tightened up. But I also want to say that, okay, you guys like this change, but there's other changes that need to be made. And I want to point to the fact that, oh yeah, we've never allowed interior lit signs outside of the city limit, I mean, outside of the historical district. Well, we have never allowed it, but we never codified it either. Nowhere was it written that that's what it should be, because we had a series of decisions that were made about how things were in this community and the way things that were done without ever passing the rules, the ordinances, the resolutions that made that a fact. So that's what this is doing. So I'll stop.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, Doug, do you have anything to add?
I didn't understand this issue when it first came up, early on in my term as council person here. I didn't understand it that well, and I thought it was articulated beautifully here by Kathy. But I saw a picture of Broad Street, and as soon as I saw that picture, I immediately understood the problem, and and the slippery slope that, and beautifully put, Lou. I couldn't have said that any better, of course. So, I understand the problem. It's easy for me, we protect the historic society. That's why people come here. That's why we're on these top 10 lists. We have some solutions here for the businesses. The chamber's going to work with them. Sean has come up with ideas, as he usually does, reflective paint. They have lights that they can use from inside. There's ways around this, well, keeping with the intent of the ordinance to get businesses seen better, I think. And I just think that, we're not going to go down the road of start chipping away at the ordinance because of a process issue. And I do agree that this was, called out as a problem with a process issue, as was the last item. So yeah, I'm for item number 1. Yeah, it's easy.
Great. Yeah, Gary, I'm so glad you brought that. My understanding was that we pulled this item because of a process issue, not because anybody necessarily disagreed with the addition of the language. And in that fact, I think we all spoke supportingly of the language because that language needed to be there to actually codify what we had already known and thought we were doing to begin with, right? So I also support option 1. I don't agree with the slippery slope argument, and I think that's a false flag. I think that doesn't always have to happen that way. But I do support option 1. And I want to say something, too, about Nevada City being hard on businesses. Yes, I think that we need to work with businesses to support them and help them be as successful as possible. And I think that businesses need to understand where they're doing business. We are a very specific place. We have very specific regulations. There are very specific limitations sometimes. And I think, whether that's the chamber's job or the city's job to better educate businesses on what is appropriate and not appropriate in Nevada City, we don't have to be hard on businesses as long as people know who they're doing business with, right? No surprises. So, and yes, we need to work with businesses to help them be more successful. I also support option 1.
Can we get a motion?
So it's just provide direction.
Is it provide
no
direction?
motion required.
Yeah, okay.
So it looks like we'll be seeing this again on the next agenda.
See you in December.
How's it going to work?
Easy peasy?
With the city staff working with the chamber to look at options that would work?
So, Lisa already had none of these. Somebody said I had good ideas. None of them were my good ideas. I had bad ideas that Lisa shut down, and she came up with some good ones. But we would definitely intend to. The chamber's just the conduit to the businesses, right? But we would love to, go to the archives, Kathy, and see if we can find pictures of signage that indicated businesses were open, in the past. Not in the 60s and 50s when we had all the horrible signs, but find that historical record and build upon that, right? So find solutions that are historically relevant and would not violate the ordinance, and then, let Lisa do her magic and make that available as an offering, somewhat like we have in the objective design standards that we document that we have, but this would be just narrowly focused on this individual business need.
Just a point, not all the businesses that were out of compliance that this is supposed to amend, no, are members of the chamber. So we can't do it just through the chamber. We need to be proactive and go to the businesses.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They just have a much broader following than us on social media, and so leveraging their 10,000 followers is helpful.
Hit it from all angles. Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for your public comment. And we are moving right along to the city manager's report. Have you got it in you?
Mere 4 hours
It's a
later.
long one. It's a long one.
City Hall is closed on Friday in honor of Veterans Day, and I will defer any future comments until our meeting. December 14th is our next council meeting. It's a Thursday to avoid Victorian Christmas on Wednesday, the 13th. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much. Is there anything pressing from folks at the table, or can we push our council report back till next
I
time?
think you heard what happened in our committee.
We got vibrancy next week, right?
We've got a housing committee tomorrow,
yeah.
HEW
Workshop.
workshop. Please join us for that. And vibrancy next week. Anything else?
Fire next week.
Fire next week.
Safety Advisory Committee next week.
Yes. And December 7th.
Infrastructure sometime.
Infrastructure, December 7th.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. Thank you for all those who have served, including those members of my family. And with that, I'm looking for a motion to
We adjourn.
adjourn.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Great. All those in favor?
Thanksgiving.
All right.
Thank you.
Adjourn.
Good night, Keith.
Adjourn in